All right, everyone, good evening. For our past Memorial Day Governing Board meeting, today is Tuesday, May 26th. Hope everyone had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. On this day in 1896, Charles Dow published the first edition of the Dow Jones Industrial Average with 12 industrial stocks, followed 1 year later in 1897 when Bram Stoker's Dracula was published, a book that I had to read with my oldest daughter recently. Today we celebrate the birthdays of two iconic music legends, Stevie Nicks of Fleetwood Mac and Lenny Kravitz. And today is National Paper Airplane Day and National Blueberry Cheesecake Day. With that, Ms. Haim, may I please have a roll call?
Ms. Luna Rose?
Here.
Mr. Romero?
Here.
Ms. Shaw? Ms. Ekstrom? Dr. Ravi?
Here. So we have three of us here this evening. Ms. Shaw may be joining us a little bit later in our meeting, but we have quorum. And we're going to get going here with, let me get to our start here, with our land acknowledgement statement. We don't have a student this evening for either a land acknowledgement statement or the Pledge of Allegiance. But I will go ahead and read the land acknowledgement statement once it's up on the screen. On behalf of the Governing Board of the Tucson Unified School District, I, Ravi Shah, acknowledge that the schools, buildings, and facilities of the Tucson Unified School District reside on the ancestral homeland of the Tohono O'odham Nation and the federally recognized tribal land of the Pasquayaqui tribe. And can everyone who is able to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Dr. Trujillo, our agenda adjustments for the evening.
President Shaw, board members, I'd like to request that we pull item 7.3. We will be back with a recommendation at our June 9th meeting for that. And then I'd also request that we move up items 7.1, 7.2, 7.4 through 7.9, all of the appointments, move them up to follow the call to the audience. And then I would like to request item 9.1 to follow the appointments.
Okay. Any objection, Governing Board? All right, I'll take unanimous consent for those changes. And Dr. Trujillo, back to you for awards and recognitions.
Yes, this is definitely the most festive part of the school year. All of us, I think, are still coming down off of the thrill of graduation week. It's always amazing to see all of our graduates dressed up and walking across graduation stages across the school district. I want to extend my heartfelt congratulations to the class of 2026. Last week, our district successfully graduated 2,585 seniors from all of our 10 comprehensive high schools. I had the privilege at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to see our very first member of the graduating class of 2026 graduate from Mary Meredith, and of course the opportunity to attend Choya, their graduation, and to attend Sabino. And all of the graduations were extremely poignant. Choya, I don't think there was a dry eye in the house when the father of the recently deceased 12th grade student, Camila Saldana, who tragically lost her life in an accident on the I-10 with her mother. Her father did receive an honorary diploma in memory of his daughter. And then I don't think there was a dry eye in the house at Sabino when the student body president dedicated her speech to her mother and a book that her mother had read about dreaming big when she was in kindergarten. So it was just amazing to see such amazing young people, especially when they speak about their parents and they speak about how important their families are in their success. Tugged on the heartstrings a little bit. We're incredibly proud of all of our graduates and grateful to the families and educators and the staff members that supported them all along the way. It's not over because summer school does kick off tomorrow. And of course, we will be culminating the summer school season with our summer graduation ceremony coming up a little bit later this month. I am pleased to recognize the Pueblo Dental Center for its commitment to the students of TUSD. Through the Gray Line program, a network of volunteer dental professionals, Pueblo Dental Center provides essential dental services at no cost to students who otherwise would have limited or no access to urgent dental care. These services include treatment for severe tooth pain, infections, and other pressing dental needs. The program serves qualifying K-12 students who are not eligible for other assistance programs and whose families meet income requirements. Through the generosity of volunteer dentists and dental hygienists, students receive care that not only addresses immediate health concerns, but also helps ensure that they can remain focused on learning and thriving and doing their best in school. Pueblo Dental Center's dedication reflects the very best of community partnership, and we're deeply grateful for its ongoing support of our students and families. At this time, I would like to invite the representatives of Pueblo Dental Center. I'd like to invite them forward to accept this recognition, and I want to thank them for all of the work that they do. I believe we don't have any representatives here, so we will certainly hold their award for them, but please give them a round of applause. And I want to conclude tonight's recognitions by honoring an exceptional Tucson Unified School District employee. We are a district full of amazing people that do amazing things every day to serve our families and our students. And tonight's recognition is no exception. Christy Olbert is a proud member of our Family and Community Engagement Department. And for many families across our district, she has truly been the face of one of our most valuable resources right here, the Duffy Clothing Bank. Since 2019, Christy has faithfully served countless students and families by helping to provide clothing, shoes, school essentials, and connections to critical community resources and services. Her compassion and dedication to serving others have made a lasting impact on our district and the community that we serve. While we are saddened to see her leave Tucson Unified, we're excited for the next chapter of her life as she devotes more time to one of her most important roles, that of being a grandmother. Her legacy of service and kindness will continue to be felt long after her retirement. Christy, thank you for your years of dedicated service and for the many lives you have touched. As Christy comes forward to receive this recognition, please join me in giving her a well-deserved round of applause for all of these wonderful years of service to the Tucson Unified community. Governing board members, that concludes tonight's awards and recognition.
Thank you, Dr. Trujillo. Next, we have board member activity reports. Who would like to start us off this evening? Oh, go ahead, Mr. Romero.
All right, just going down the list real quick. Gridley Middle School with Principal Rosanna, Kellen Elementary with Principal Angela, Gale with Principal Kathy, and got to see Chicken School, which was fantastic. Steele Elementary, Principal Jessica, McCorkle Academy of Excellence with Principal Deanna and Rodzilla, Oyama with Principal Kyle, Grijalva with Principal Megan, Dolan with Principal Natalie, and Assistant Principal Michelle, Project Moore with Izzy, Pueblo with Principal Frank, Morgan Maxwell with Principal Carissa, Marshall with Principal Emily for the 5th grade promotion. Spent the last day of school at the same school I spent the first day of school at Soling Tom with me, Hermano, Principal Oscar. Got to address the graduating students at Pueblo prior to their graduation, and then left there to go address the graduating students at Innovation Tech and celebrated graduation with a class of 2026 there, and Principal Patricia Hurley's graduation of that school as well. And then addressed the graduating students at Catalina and celebrated graduation with a class of 2026, and Principal Norma Gonzalez congratulating them as well.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Go ahead, Ms. Luna Rose. Or Ms. Shaw, you ready?
Good evening. Oops. Testing. Can you guys hear me? This one? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Sorry I'm late. I had to drop my daughter off at the airport. She's going to DC with her school and to do all the touristy stuff, so please forgive me. During this period, I was able to attend the Penguin launch at UHS. My daughter was recently accepted into University High School, and so thank you. They start early. She's going into 8th grade now, so yeah, they told them what to expect. So that was really great for me as a parent to see everything that they would be doing through the 4 years, and that coincided with the Art Under Your Stars Day at Rincon UHS. So I saw all of the fine arts celebrated, and so that was wonderful. I also attended the Alternative Education Advisory Committee meeting. I'm the board liaison for that, and so next month they'll be presenting a report for the board and a recommendation, so do look forward to that. I met via Zoom with members of the deaf community to talk about some of their concerns for our contract with ASDB, and so they just wanted to, meet with me to express those concerns again, and potentially, I know at the last board meeting I mentioned to look into TUSD leasing the ASDB campus for our deaf and visually impaired students that are incoming, and so they wanted to know more about that. Last but not least, I attended the Teenage Parent High School graduation ceremony. If you haven't attended that before, board members, I highly recommend. Miss Luna Rose, I think you were at it last year, and it's so lively. The kids were on the stage. It was really their ceremony, so it was great to see all the graduates and their children. And I also attended the Catalina High School graduation ceremony with Mr. Romero. Mr. Romero, I don't think you mentioned that you were in full Elvis gear, and so the kids really loved that. Thank you.
Ready? All right, go ahead, Ms. Luna Rose.
Thank you and good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'll start sort of in order here. I was invited to listen to some student presentations from the Collaborative Research and Action Student Symposium, which was held on the U of A campus in the now defunct Cesar Chavez building, from our culturally relevant Cultural Responsive Pedagogy and Instruction Department here at TUSD, and I saw several students from around the districts, Pueblo, Tucson High, and I do believe I sat in on Pister, giving their presentations, excuse me, on how, what is going on in the world and how does that affect them as students, and wanting to see changes at their schools. And I highly encourage my colleagues to try to attend that if they haven't next year, into seeing what our students are doing and what they're learning in their classes and how bright and wonderful they are. I will always be a champion for them. So I wanted to say thank you to Dr. Jessica Bernal Mejia for the invitation. It was a really fun time. Next, I attended the second semester Pueblo Counseling Department Advisory Council meeting. Thank you to Dr. Toro for inviting me to be part of this group. And so I just listened to what they're doing at their counseling and the amazing things they're doing at Pueblo. So I appreciate the updates. And lastly, I'm going to put this all under the Rincon High School banner. As a parent, my daughter just graduated from Rincon, and so she will be attending the University of Arizona and is going to be part of the U of A marching band come in the fall. So I'm very proud of her and her classmates. So I did have the privilege to be able to give her her diploma. And I didn't cry till the next day at all. I was very surprised, and I think it just kind of hit me. But it was an amazing event. And so I also attended the Rincon Awards Band Night, which I do believe you were there, Ms. Shaw, and I missed you. I kept hearing that you were there. And that's a wonderful night of all the different arts of Rincon University, not just band, but orchestra, choir, the digital arts, drawing, painting, ceramics. It's just such a wonderful event, and they do, it just highlights again the work that our students are doing. I also attended the Rincon Honor Ceremony, as well as the Rincon University Band Awards Night. I also did some work for the Teacher Appreciation Week. I helped with the nacho bar. But, and I say that because these little things matter. These little things matter to our teachers. They've worked hard all year. And so if you can help as a parent or a community member or a friend, or you're just wanting to get involved, call the principal, call the school to say, how can I help? Because they really are looking for the help. And I will still try to help as much as I can, even though I'm technically not, for the first time in 12 years, will be not a parent of this district anymore.
13 years, right?
13 years, I'm sorry, that's right, with preschool. So, oh, and I would be remiss if I did not mention that I also attended the Mexican American Student Services recognition at the University of Arizona. Thank you to Maria Federico Brummer and her team. It was a wonderful event. It always is, and they were very proud of themselves that they got it done under 2 hours, so good job. We just seeing the amazing students that we have here in our district. And I wanted to give a quick shout out to now graduated senior from Rincon. She was the valedictorian, Azul Rangel. She gave a beautiful speech on being a child of immigrants, and thanked her parents in the crowd. And then she went a little bit slightly rogue and pulled out a side speech talking about how the current immigration issues we're having in this nation right now are horrible, that immigrants are not demons, they're not Satan, and that they're just people trying to live. And she was very brave, and I commend her for doing that, because she could have just ended it there, but she chose to also make note that a lot of her classmates are also scared for their parents, those in the district that might be undocumented. So kudos to Azul for her bravery, and I wish her well. I do believe she's going to the University of Arizona as well. So with that, Dr. Shaw, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Luna Rose. So for my board member activity report, early in May, I was able to attend the Ochoa Fiesta. Ochoa Community School is in South Tucson, and they have a spring fiesta every year. And thank you, Principal Duarte Rob, for the invitation. I think the highlight for me was meeting a lot of the namesake Ochoa family and attendance at that festival. So it was great meeting all the folks from that family. The next day, I attended the OMA showcase at Palo Verde High School. The theme was Meet Your Neighbor, a Mr. Rogers reference, and I got to see Dr. Trujillo up there on this big screen wearing a Mr. Rogers sweater as our keynote there. But great seeing all the students from around the district performing that afternoon. Later that night, I attended the Legacy of Excellence event with Ms. Shaw in attendance as well. I don't think you mentioned that in yours. But as Legacy of Excellence raises money for individuals from the African American community for college scholarships. And so it was a night to raise funding for the scholarship program, as well as honor the soon-to-be or now graduates who received the scholarships for the next year. So it was great to hear their stories and celebrate them. During the month of May, I got to finally see all the electric school bus infrastructure that we installed, thanks to funding from TEP and from grants, as well as bond money for the purchase of our electric school buses. I got to ride in one of the electric school buses that afternoon, and lo and behold, it was the same electric school bus that my twins from second grade used to get to Kidco. So I got to surprise them on the electric bus and got to see that in action. Last week, the high school that I was able to attend for graduation was Pueblo High School, my first time attending that graduation. The graduation was bilingual for all the parents and family in the audience that spoke Spanish. It was great to see it in a bilingual format, and excited to be able to speak to the students and families there. And most meaningful for me this past month, I got to attend the Aliceville Middle School promotion. My daughter promoted from 8th grade, and about a month or two ago when I proposed it to her about speaking at it, she didn't veto it right away. So I jumped out of the opportunity to be there on stage, speak to the class, some of the students I've known since preschool, since they were in preschool, and shake their hands, and a lot of hugs for the kids being promoted onto high school. So that was a really meaningful moment for me this past month. With that, that'll conclude our board member activity reports, and we'll head to our call to the audience. Ms. Luna Rose.
Little froggy. Okay. Members of the public may speak during call to the audience. The governing board clerk shall be responsible, thank you, for recognizing speakers and for maintaining order where it may be appropriate. Those who speak in person or want to have their comments read shall email the call to board office or complete a request to address the board form before the meeting. Speakers who have not completed a request form are not permitted to address the board. Speakers must state their full name and topic prior to addressing the board. Speakers are encouraged to be brief for the maximum time of 3 minutes. While more than one speaker may speak together in the time allowed, speakers are reminded they are not allowed to speak more than once, and they may not transfer or delegate their time to others. If there are documents for the board, please give them to the board office staff, and they will ensure each board member receives a copy. Those attending the meeting and or speaking before the governing board shall observe rules of good conduct. Speakers shall also refrain from inappropriate or defamatory remarks. Defamation includes false statements presented as facts about identifiable persons that could harm their reputation. Please note that making defamatory statements at a public meeting may expose the speaker to personal legal liability. Because TUSD serves students from preschool through high school, speakers should be aware that children may be present and listening. At the end of the call of the audience, the governing board president will ask any board member if they would like to respond to criticism, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be put forth on a future agenda. No more than 2 board members may address each topic. Okay. First person is Scott Rodman. Mr. Rod? Okay. Next is Karen Bernal. Okay.
Don't start my time yet. Wait, is it there? Okay. Wait, start over. Okay. Good evening, Superintendent Trujillo, Board Chair Dr. Shaw, members of the board. My name is Karen Bernal, and I am a state certified school library media specialist at Catalina High School. I would like to request your serious consideration regarding the following 2 items. I toned it down. On behalf of the few current state certified librarians in our district. First, we would like to see TUSD return to having highly qualified teacher librarian as stated in TUSD policy IJK, which reads, quote, "The library is staffed by a highly qualified teacher librarian who collaborates with classroom teachers to set instructional goals and implement instructional practices," end quote. We do, as librarians, teach research, digital literacy skills, provide book talks, curate book lists for our libraries to keep students engaged, informed, and excited about reading. According to policy INDJ, The district is also supposed to provide guidance to students on responsible AI use as part of the digital citizenship curriculum. This includes AI literacy, data privacy awareness, and I'm wondering who exactly the district has in mind to provide this guidance. Well, I would like to point out that the guidance is specifically in the realm of school librarians. Teaching digital literacy, including ethical use of AI, is one of our main jobs. We currently have only 11 schools that are actually staffed by a state-certified librarian, which really hurts the vertical alignment of our programs. We understand that some of the override monies are supposed to be earmarked for hiring more librarians in the district, and we hope you can help make this happen. We also need to maintain that library assistants have a separate job managing the space, shelving books, checking in and out materials, assisting with display, repairing books, and countless number of tasks and activities needed to run a vibrant library. They are indeed just as important. Our assistants, though, should not be asked to teach classes, run programs, select and curate a collection, fix Chromebooks. That is above their pay grade and entirely unfair to ask them to perform duties that should be the job of a school librarian. Second, libraries need a budget dedicated to replenishing weeded and lost books. This should be a number of books per pupil formula, which is very common throughout many districts all over. That needs to be a clear line item budget where that money exists. We can't rely on going after students and squeezing money out of them for every lost book. That's no way to budget for a library. There will be loss. We know, especially at the elementary level, when students are learning how to be responsible for things. Most of the money any of us get for books is through grants we apply for, not district money at this point. Many of us work for at schools that are 100% free and reduced lunch, and currently our TUSD policy code JQ states students will be responsible and accountable for loss or damage. But we have a number of non-monetary and creative ways to still hold students accountable and responsible if we need to.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I had a few more paragraphs, but okay, thanks.
Thank you. Next is Judy Morellian.
Good evening, Dr. Trujillo, Board President Shaw, and members of the board. My name is Judy Marillion. I am here tonight to speak regarding the digital citizenship curriculum and to share my research and expertise as a retired associate professor in the School of Library and Information Science at Texas Women's University. I taught graduate students in library science for 25 years. The vast majority of the courses I taught were exclusively for students preparing to serve as state-certified school librarians. My research focused on the leadership and instructional partnership roles of school librarians. There's a strong connection between hiring state-certified school librarians with budget override funds and the adoption of an AI use in education curriculum. These new as well as current TUSD librarians must be experts in information resources, digital literacy, and critical thinking at a time when the district commits to educating staff, teachers, and students with regard to the complementary use of generative AI. When the updated digital citizenship curriculum has been approved, TUSD's principals and technology specialists will be charged with ensuring that it is implemented effectively throughout the district for the benefit of all students. State-certified school librarians who are charged with collaborating with every other educator in their buildings and teaching or co-teaching all of their school students are partners with administrators and specialists in spreading innovation and best practices in every classroom. The new certified school librarian position should be provided for administrators and school faculty who seek to collaborate to ensure that learners continue to understand how information is created and disseminated, how bias and point of view are determined, how copyright applies in the digital age, and to apply critical thinking in their complementary use of generative AI. School librarians cannot lead if their daily work is relegated to tasks that can be effectively accomplished by library assistants. Principals and faculty that qualify for the addition of library professionals must provide certified school librarians with the support they need as instructional leaders on their school faculty. Please thoughtfully place these new hires and support existing state-certified school librarians in helping administrators, classroom teachers, and specialists successfully implement the updated digital citizenship curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lillian Fox.
Dr. Trujillo, Board President Ravi Shah, board members. This is the policy she's talking about. It's right in TUSD policy and it's ignored. It's really not right. On my little thing that I gave you up there, TUSD is guilty of the racism of low expectations. I don't know how in the world anybody can look in the mirror and think that having only 27% of the kids proficient in English language arts and only 17% proficient in math is okay. Our kids are intelligent. The district is failing them because it's not doing what it should have done. I listed 4 strategies here that help low-income kids exceed even what high-income kids do. If you do things right, everybody benefits. First one is the library policy. If you actually did this, it has been proved by research that this helps low-income and high-income kids. If you have a well-stocked, appropriately staffed library, everybody benefits. Next thing on the list, small class sizes. State of Tennessee spent 10 years studying small class size. Their attitude was small classes are really expensive, so we're not going to do it unless it really pays off. And what they proved is it really pays off. If you have small class sizes for kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, those kids will be high achievers for the rest of their educational time because they've gotten the right basis in reading and the right basis in math. You're not doing it. You have huge classes in those first 3 grades. It's no wonder the proficiency rates in this district are horrible. Next thing, if you engage student in activities, any activity in school, whether it's the chess club or the swimming team or whatever it is, those kids are more likely to graduate, they're more likely to succeed because they have a reason to come to school even if things are hard for them. You need to fund that. Sadie has tried to do that. She hasn't been completely successful because what she asked for hasn't been budgeted in some cases. Next thing, Arizona Department of Education got really concerned about the rate of absences in Arizona schools, particularly after COVID. They put down a procedure using experts to do it for how to reduce truancy. TUSD ignored it, Vail does it. Vail's succeeding. You could succeed too. These are the secrets of success. Now, the story is TUSD doesn't have the money. You squander so much money on an overpaid, overstaffed central administration. The Auditor General has rated TUSD for years as having extremely high administrative costs. It is not your schools, it's central administration. You have an agenda item on tonight, 713, that they want you to approve. They didn't tell you how much.
Thank you. Time is up.
Okay.
Okay. Next is Aurelia Morales.
Hello, school board members, superintendent. My name is Brianne Butner. I'm reading this comment on behalf of Aurelia Morales, who could not be here tonight. Aurelia has been a bus driver for TUSD for 3 years. In quotes, I have a chronic illness. My daughter has medical needs as well. We both need medical care, but our health benefits through TUSD are expensive and they're only mediocre. We pay way too much for what we get. Right now, I stay on a cheaper medication, even though it's slowly killing me, because the drug that would help me tremendously costs too much out of pocket. I can't afford both rent and the expensive medication, so I choose rent. I choose to keep working, and my health gets worse. I've had to think about getting major surgeries just to hit my deductible so that my medications become free and my doctor visits become cheaper. That is not a real choice. That is a broken system. Meanwhile, some of the top administrators in this district have gotten much bigger raises than we have from the latest budget override money. We see that, and we're tired. I've missed work because of my health. My manager has been supportive, and I appreciate that. But the rest of the district makes it nearly impossible for someone like me to stay healthy and keep driving our students safely. If we want to talk about a bus driver shortage, look at our health benefits. Look at our pay. Many people who are leaving do so out of necessity. I ask for two things tonight. One, raise our wages, especially for the lowest paid workers like bus monitors and custodians. And two, give us better health benefits that we don't have to bankrupt ourselves to use. We help take care of the children in TUSD. We deserve care ourselves. Thank you.
Next is Anthony Peters.
Hello, my name is Luis Caldera. I'm a 2 years employee from Catalina High. I'll be speaking on behalf of Anthony. I'll be reading on behalf of Anthony, who had a very early night since he gets up at 4:30 a.m. to work in summer. School board members and superintendent. My name is Anthony. I've been a custodian for TUSD for 2 years. I'm lucky I have a family in town with extra rooms, so I rent a cheap room. I'm not choosing between rent and food like some of my coworkers. Even then, I still have people tell me I should go to college to get a better job. I can afford the classes. Why shouldn't we be able to make a living doing what our school communities need from us to do? It's not right that a custodian who shows up every day and cleans our schools still can't afford one step forward. If I'm struggling with the luck I have, what does that say about my coworkers who don't have family to lean on? For everyone who is on one emergent away from losing everything. We're asking for wages that cover what we need, wages that let a person breathe. We deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Nick Bruna.
Good evening, members of the board, superintendent. My name is Nick. I'm here with AFSCME 449. I'm a school bus driver. So yeah, just to get to it, working for TUSD, I have to take side jobs, random things that I can do to make ends meet. I live with family because I can't afford the rent on my own. I don't know how I'm gonna make it through this summer because July work isn't guaranteed. Luckily, I was able to get some work in the facilities in the summer. But I know a lot of my coworkers who are actually leaving the district because it was not available for them. I've been looking at the district's financials as a member on the AFSCME bargaining team, and also just because everybody's been talking about it, right? Other groups in the district, and I'm not even talking about our highest paid administrators, are getting raises with the override monies equivalent to somewhere between 7 and 16% of what our lowest paid blue collar workers are making, depending on which one you look at. And there's also groups in other bargaining units getting commitments to 2 to 4% of annual step increases compared to what AFSCME is getting, while our blue collar workers are staying at 1% steps per year. And this, the 4% override, what we've been hearing about getting, isn't even being told yet how it's going to be distributed. But, that's not to say that these folks don't deserve that, because I absolutely believe that everybody deserves to have a living wage. But now to look at some of the higher levels of administration and kind of put it more in perspective, If blue collar workers were given the same percentage raise that, for example, the top administrators are getting, we'd be looking at, for like a bus monitor, a 40 to 50% increase in their wage. That's life changing. I mean, straight up, we can't go past that, and that disparity is really crushing for a lot of folks. It's a huge blow to morale. We're constantly being told that there's no money and that more cuts are coming. We were not threatened, but worried by, saying that we had to pick up cuts from each of our departments, but we weren't asked what we wanted to do with the override monies. So we were looking at the negative rather than looking at the positive together. And so I want to just say, with what time I have left, that spending millions on, again, the highest, when we need to really be investing in the folks that keep our schools running physically, our students safe and cared for, is not special treatment. We want to be treated like we matter, so please find the money.
Thank you. Next is Eve Mays.
Hello. Good evening, school board. My name's Eve Mays. I'm a school bus driver at Eastside Transportation, here to represent ASME 449. Oh, thanks. Our bus drivers, our bus monitors, custodial, and facilities at ASME. I'm here to ask the board where our tax money from Prop 414 is for our blue collars. It feels like blue collars are afterthoughts to y'all. We were told that ASME workers are to get a 4% raise from Prop 414, yet nothing has been done. We've seen no money, have seen no raises. Many of our custodial, bus monitors, and bus drivers, such as myself, love working with the students of TUSD. Ask any of us, and we'll praise them, how much we love driving them, taking them to school, cleaning after them, watching them get big. It's the pay that kills our drive to work here. Promises are made, but not being followed through. For AFSCME members, yearly raises or going up a step as per our MOU are not being delivered. So what hope do we have that our Prop 414 promise is going to be fulfilled by y'all? I beg the board to stop the wage compression and give us the raises we deserve. To me, these kids are everything, but I cannot give them everything if you can't help me give it all. If you don't support it, I can't give it all. I can't give it my all if you can't give it your all in supporting your workers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Angela Yogerlis Borgore. I'm sorry, Angela. I'm going to butcher your name, so I do not want to. Bojorquez.
Obviously, I am not Angela. I am Janetta Peck. I am a bus monitor, excuse me. I'm not that crazy. And I've been a bus monitor for over 30 years. Thoroughly enjoy my job, love my job. And I am here on behalf of my friend and sister, Angela. My name is Angela. I'm not even going to attempt her last name. I am a bus monitor at the West Side facility. I have been with transportation for 16 years. I am asking you to hear my story because I cannot be here in person due to having to work my second job. When I started in 2010, I earned $10 an hour. For the first 6 years, I worked for this district. That was my wage, $10 an hour. In 2014, we were given a 5-cent raise, 5 cents, and then right after that, the district raised the cost of our health insurance, so that 5 cents disappeared before I ever saw it. In 2015, I was part of the negotiating team. At that time, the workers and the district wanted to bring everyone up to $15 an hour as a new minimum wage. But how they went about raising the wage was not fair to workers like me who have already been here for years and not been compensated for our compressed wages. After 6 years at $10 an hour, being moved to $15 didn't feel like a raise. It felt like the district finally catched up to where we should have been all along. While newer workers were starting at the same rate as someone with my experience, 16 years, and I still feel like I have not yet had a real raise. Not one that kept up with the cost of living. Not one that honored my loyalty or my work. I am a bus monitor. I keep the children safe on the road. I have given this district almost 2 decades of my life, and I have to live with poverty wages and rising insurance costs. To me, that is disrespect. I am asking you tonight, give us a real raise, not a few cents, not just catching up to the bare minimum, especially after years of service. Do not take with one hand that what you give with the other. Do not raise our insurance right after you give us a tiny raise. Respect our loyalty and service. Bus monitors have some of the highest turnover rates for a reason. I've stuck with TUSD for 16 years, but will TUSD help? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Cameron Rodriguez.
Natalie,
Oh, I'm sorry.
the
Yes.
allotted time is up.
Okay.
We have 4 more in person and none to be read. I'll move till we extend call to the audience.
I'll second.
All right, item moved by myself and extended, seconded by Ms. Luna Rose. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, item passes 4-0.
All right, Mr. Rodriguez.
Good evening, Cameron Rodriguez, Rincon High School. Sorry to come on such a rough night. I'm here about item 6.5, the $6.8 million insurance renewal, including a $350,000 increase in workers' compensation contributions. The memo says the increase is due to lost data. That means TUSD is paying twice. First, the district pays to defend individual claims by paying the premium. Surveillance, depositions, motions, hearings, legal bills, Then those costs flow into the retrospective workers' compensation data that sets next year's contributions, and you lost most of the loyalty credit too. So the district funds the fight, then the district funds the increase the fight produced. This is public money, mind you. More cost, less return, no gain. The judge in my case has asked your lawyer to ask Alliance and ask you the question, who is helped by continuing this? What are you doing? Are you settling or what? And if I can speak with my whole heart for a moment, why would you pay lawyers to keep a teacher from getting medical treatment? Just why? Why pay lawyers instead of treating a teacher's knee? What kind of person is okay with this? It's one thing when you thought I was making it up, and now it's about whether the sidewalk counts as the school or not. Talk about shifting the goalposts. You don't just refuse to settle with the teacher, you just give the money to the lawyers instead. I stay hurt, you and admin have to get embarrassed and annoyed for months, and the only people that get paid and walk away are private corporations and lawyers. How much more bad behavior do I have to put into pictures? I like this district, I defend it, I love my job, even though it doesn't love me, so at least we have the fondness of the district in common at the very least. So that's something to think about. Please answer the judge. Thank you.
Hello, Donetta. Next is Cristobal Saldana Buckner.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Cristobal Saldana Buckner. I am a teacher at Pueblo High School as well as a TUSD parent. And I am reading a letter from my former colleague. This letter was sent by Soka Weiss to Mayor Romero after the mayor made an appearance at Pueblo's graduation last year. Ms. Weiss has granted me permission to read an excerpt from this letter tonight on her behalf. It was an honor to meet you during the Pueblo graduation ceremony. When you asked why I was leaving, I hesitated to share my reasons in person, but I feel it is important to let you know I am leaving Pueblo High School due to ongoing challenges with our administration, specifically Principal Rossenhausler and Vice Principal Mearson. Unfortunately, I am not alone. Many good, qualified, and experienced teachers are leaving this year. The core issues stem from a lack of support, trust, and appreciation from the administration. They have demanded extra work without fully understanding the teaching and learning process or considering teachers' additional responsibilities. They often blame teachers for school performance and dismiss our concerns, belittling our professional experiences and abilities. An administration that understands what it is meant to be a teacher can provide support for their teachers, and in turn help their teachers support their students. This is not something seen at Pueblo, unfortunately. As department head for science, I have tried to advocate for my colleagues and students. I voiced our concerns about the recent curriculum changes, team planning, and workload, but they were dismissed. Instead, I was told I must fully support their directives publicly, even when I disagreed. Both Mr. R and Ms. Mearson demanded I also not question their directives in public as well. Their response to my concerns was disheartening. Mr. R told me he only considers our performance scores, and his aggressive attitude caused me to feel undervalued and emotional. This happened in a public area, the library, where my fellow team members and teachers witnessed me in tears, doing my best to try and get admin to understand us. After that difficult week, I realized I could no longer stay at Pueblo. While I will miss my students, I have accepted a position at St. Augustine.
I'm sorry, your
Catholic.
time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Ben Kohler.
Hello. Good evening, board and superintendent. I am also a teacher at Pueblo High School, coming to talk to you this evening about our administration and principals specifically. Today I'll be presenting data from a staff survey that we took in the month of April. As you all know, teachers in this district are evaluated on the Danielson framework, and so we created a Danielson framework equivalent to evaluate our administration. The four categories include, or there were 5 categories, 4 of them mirroring the student or the teacher evaluation. Those categories are planning and preparation, the school environment, instruction, professional responsibilities, and we included a 5th category as well. This 5th category relates to an anonymous letter that was sent to the governing board back in March, and it has to do with specific concerns in this anonymous letter, including retaliation, gender issues, and safety and misconduct from our administration. The result of this staff-wide survey, and I say staff because not only was this teachers, this was also custodians, cafeteria workers, janitorial staff, and front office, was including 72% of the entire staff of Pueblo High School, and resulted in the following scores. The most common results were the lowest score possible, all ones, which would be an unsatisfactory score, and this tied with the second most common results of a basic score, a 1.6 in this 4-point scale. 1 being unsatisfactory, 2 being basic, 3 being proficient, and 4 being distinguished. Mr. R, our principal, received an average of, as I mentioned, that 1.6. The median and means were slightly higher, but still in the basic and low proficiency ratings. We bring this data forward with you as part of our ongoing effort to change the culture at Pueblo High School. We as teachers believe it's our responsibility to provide the best learning environment for the students and also a safe learning environment for the students and our colleagues. So by presenting this data, we hope to bring your attention to the troubling situation of the culture, safety, and learning environment at Pueblo High School and invite you to participate in our process to help improve that culture. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jeanette Ruppel.
Hello, my name is Jeanette Ruppel, and I'm an English teacher at Pueblo High School. The purpose of an elected school board is not to decide criminality. The purpose is to decide if community standards are being upheld. In this case, with respect to the actions of Principal Rosenhauser, that's the bar. Anything below the bar requires the TUSD school board to take action. Principal Rosenhauser has often, across many different contexts, implied and stated the behavior of others sometimes make him crazy. He wouldn't act this way if others, usually women, didn't push him. An instructional coach told others that Principal Rosenhauser stood over her and shouted at her, even ridiculing her recently failed engagement. Did she push him? Did she make him crazy? The next year, Principal Rosenhauser stated that Pueblo had a fantastic strides based on its PLC work. The science department chair genuinely, enthusiastically stated, "I'd like to hear about them." Principal Rosenhauser and an AP walked the woman out of the meeting for a private conversation. When she returned, she looked like she had been crying and was visibly shaken. Principal Rosenhauser gets humiliated very easily, especially when he perceives that his constant lying is being challenged. It's time for the board to act. This year, Principal Rosenhauser has developed a strategy of holding meetings with 2 APs and then separating the meeting with the AP that he blames for sending the recently anonymous letter to the board. The day after graduation, Principal Rosenhauser called all 3 APs into his office to berate them for humiliating him at graduation. 2 questions for the board. Is Principal Rosenhauser's professional conduct appropriate, and is it improving over time? And is there any possible TUSD intervention that can accommodate an individual who blames others for making him crazy? What community standards the bar that TUSD school board has to consider when taking action with respect to Principal Rosenhauser? When he brings some cookies unannounced during lunch to the room of a newly hired Spanish teacher, does that feel like the authority of an administrative certificate is being used for the benefit of Pueblo's mission statement? Can the new teacher reject this overture? As principal, he could argue that he has the right to go into any classroom at any time. This is why school boards have oversight powers and responsibilities. When TUSD legal is all over the school because of principal's secretary incident, and then they return because of the texting and underage student issue, where is the board? What about male administration and coaching staff always having to be in spaces occupied by young female athletes? Why must male administration and coaching staff work out shirtless in the company of young female athletes? TUSD board, please enforce community standards of behavior with the respect of Principal Rosenhauser. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Shaw, that concludes call to the audience.
Thank you, Ms. Luna Rose. Now our governing board has the opportunity to respond to criticism, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. Remember that no more than 2 members may legally address each topic. Ms. Shaw.
Thank you, everyone, for speaking tonight. First, I want to thank Ms. Bernal and Ms. Morellian for your continued advocacy for our school librarians. I'd like to ask that we put on a future agenda a presentation of how we will be reinstating the librarian position across the district using override funds while also maintaining the librarian assistant positions. For all the AFSCME folks who came to speak today, thank you, and also the TEA folks, thank you for advocating for better wages for your union. and better healthcare costs. I totally agree. I want to find a way that we can do that. And I think one way to do that is chopping from the top. So I will be, thanks. Thank you. And yeah, it's a tough, we do have issues in our district as far as our budget, and like the only way that I could foresee that we are able to do right by everyone is to chop from the top. So I do encourage my board colleagues to do the same. Last but not least, for all the folks who came from Pueblo to speak, I don't think it's a big surprise that I was the person who requested a culture and climate review at Pueblo due to some of the things that have been expressed. And so it's my understanding that you're still able to participate in that culture and climate review virtually. So if you haven't already, please do meet with Mr. Freed to express your concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw. Anybody else? All right. Thank you. That will conclude our call to the audience. Next, we'll move on to item 7.1, administrative appointments. Deputy Superintendent.
President Shaw, members of the governing board, it's always a wonderful event when we can welcome new members to the administration. So we're going to start with our candidate for deputy superintendent. Has a long history in the district as a not only as a teacher but as a campus principal, where she impressively ran and led the district's largest high school, Tucson Magnet High School, for 7 years before stepping in to become an exceptional regional assistant superintendent for the last 5 years. Has taken on some tough challenges, built great relationships, and has provided amazing leadership, and I know will make an absolutely amazing deputy superintendent. So I'd like to recommend for your consideration Ms. Shana Rodriguez.
Thank you, Dr. Trujillo. Ms. Luna Rose.
Excuse me, Dr. Shaw, I'd like to move the item to nominate Shana Rodriguez as the deputy superintendent for Tucson Unified School District.
I'll second the item. Governing board members? All those in favor? Go ahead, Ms. Shaw.
Thank you. I've expressed this opinion in the past. I do not agree with the creation of a new administrative position in these troubled times. And so although I do love Shana Rodriguez and I very much appreciate her vision as our potential new deputy superintendent, I'm going to have to vote no on this item. But I wish you all the best, Shana.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Item passes 3-1, and I want to congratulate Ms. Rodriguez. And as you're coming up to the podium, I remind this is not new funds. We're able to remove an administrative position, the Assistant Superintendent of Student Success, and create this new position, Deputy Superintendent. So I'm really excited for what you're going to bring to this role, Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you so much. Good evening, President Shaw, Clerk Luna Rose, members of the Governing Board, Superintendent Dr. Trujillo, and Legal Counsel. Thank you for your leadership this year, and I am deeply honored and humbled by your vote of confidence in appointing me for this position. I do not take this responsibility lightly, and I am grateful for the trust you have placed in me to continue serving students, staff, and our community. What makes this moment especially meaningful for me is that I am a proud product of this district. It has helped shape who I am both professionally and personally, and it has been a privilege to serve our community for the past 25 years. I carry tremendous pride in this work by giving back to the schools and our community that has invested so much in me, especially the most unforgettable teachers and coaches. I want to first thank my family and friends for their love, patience, and encouragement. I love you guys. To my fellow regional assistant superintendents and district colleagues, thank you for the teamwork and collegiality. I have learned so much from each of you, and I look forward to doing this work together. Finally, to the amazing Arcadians of Region 4, you are incredible principals and assistant principals, and it has been an honor to serve alongside you, celebrate your successes, and navigate challenges together. Your dedication, resilience, and leadership are commendable. The work happening in our schools belongs to you and your teams, and I thank each of you for how hard you work. Finally, as I step into this new role, I do so with excitement to innovate, expand relationships, and support the success of our students, our departments, and our TUSD community. Thank you so much.
Congratulations again, Ms. Rodriguez. And so what we'll do tonight, just to preview before I continue on, we have a number of other administrative appointments, including principals, interim principals. We'll do those. We have a group of assistant principals, and then we'll pause for pictures. For all the administrators and interim principals, we'll be having a chance to speak, and then we'll do all the assistant principals together, and we'll pause for pictures and a break after that. Next, we have item 7.2, administrative appointment, interim assistant superintendent.
Board members, so with the appointment of Mrs. Rodriguez now to Deputy Superintendent, we have an existing vacancy in the Arcadia region, one of our remaining 4. Remember, we already did eliminate the 5th Regional Assistant Superintendent position. We have 4 remaining, and Mrs. Rodriguez's appointment tonight leaves a vacancy there in the Arcadia region. So tonight, I'm proud to recommend an outstanding educational leader, had a 9-year run at Amphitheater High School and really guided that school to amazing academic heights before coming and joining us as our Senior Director for Grants and Federal Programs, where his stewardship and tracking of ESSER-era dollars really helped us remain on point, make sure that every dollar was spent responsibly. Most recently, he was a much-needed voice of stability and calm and confidence and composure at Tucson High, as a school that for the last couple of years had struggled with some interim leadership challenges. And at least for this year, Mr. Lanza brought some peace and some confidence back to Badger Nation until we were able to find its forever leader. Oh, we would like to recommend Mr. Lanza, Mr. John Lanza, to serve as the interim regional assistant superintendent for Region 4.
Thank you, Dr. Trio. Governing Board.
Dr. Shaw, I'd like to move the item.
I moved by Ms. Luna Rose, and I'll second. I'm seconded by myself. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item passes 4-0. Congratulations, Mr. Lanza.
President Shaw, Clerk Luna Rose, Governing Board members, Dr. Trujillo, and Council Ross. I'm honored to be appointed as the new Assistant Superintendent for Arcadia Region, Region 4, and I thank you for your belief in the work that I've done and will do for us. I look forward to serving the educators in this region, the many principals, assistant principals, teachers, support staff, parents, and the community members that are the foundation of the exceptional schools and programs in this region. To the principals in this region, you can expect my unwavering support and my push to excellence. Many of you have worked with me over the years and know that I believe in growth, I believe in being creative, and in finding a way to be successful. I will be there to support you in our work together. And finally, I look forward to the collaborative work and combined effort that I will be part of with the other district leaders and assistant superintendents. In this new position, you will see my unwavering belief in our schools and dedication to making TUSD the premier district in Arizona. Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Lanza. Next, we have item 7.4, administrative appointment, interim director of language acquisition.
Proceed with our next recommendation, I want to take a moment and really reflect and give thanks to Patricia Sandoval Taylor for over 30 years of service in the service of English language learners as well as two-way dual language and those students seeking to become bilingual learners. Under Ms. Sandoval Taylor's leadership, both the two-way dual language program here in TUSD, particularly its magnet programs, led by Davis, Mission View, and some other place, Bloom, throughout the region, have become nationally renowned, as well as her wavering commitment to serving our English language learners through high-quality ELD instruction. So let's please give Pat Sandoval-Taylor a round of applause. And we want to wish Pat all the best, all the happiness and joy in her retirement, and celebrating, I believe, a granddaughter or a grandson who's on the way. Absolutely. But a testament to Ms. Sandoval-Taylor's leadership, we have a leader in the department who had the pleasure of working with Pat all these years and received that mentorship, that leadership coaching, and is now ready to step in. Ana Manzano is a longtime dual language program coordinator working in the language acquisition department with Ms. Sandoval-Taylor. She was also language acquisition specialist for a number of years, and of course came into the classroom at the turn of the century and served as a classroom teacher for almost 20 years, working with two-way dual language students. Ana Manzano has my every confidence that she will continue the legacy and the excellence that Ms. Sandoval-Taylor has set for the department and our program here in TUSD. Ana Manzano is the recommendation for Interim Director for Language Acquisition Services here in TUSD.
Thank you, Dr. Trujillo. I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Item moved by myself and seconded by Ms. Luna Rose. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item passes 4-0. Congratulations, Ms. Manzano. There she is.
Good evening, Board President Shaw, Dr. Trujillo, board members. I'm deeply honored and grateful for this opportunity to continue to serve linguistically gifted students and families in our district and to further my work alongside teachers, administrators, and staff in the support of emerging bilinguals. It's a privilege to work with some of the most talented, dedicated, and hardworking professionals in the language acquisition department, and I don't take this privilege lightly. Their expertise, passion, and unwavering commitment to students is the foundation of this department's success, and I'm fortunate to continue learning and leading alongside them. I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to recognize Pat Sandoval-Taylor for her exceptional leadership and fierce advocacy on behalf of English learners. Pat built this team and led this work for many years with deep commitment, passion, and a sound belief that it's our moral imperative to ensure the success of bilingual students throughout TUSD, and not only TUSD, but throughout our greater community. Her impact on students, families, and educators will be felt for many, many years to come. Those are undoubtedly big shoes to fill, but I'm excited about this opportunity and confident in our ability to continue moving this important work forward. Together with an extraordinary team in the language acquisition department, our school leaders, teachers, families, and our community partners, we will remain focused on ensuring that multilingual learners have access to opportunities, support, and high-quality educational experiences. Con gratitud, pasión, visión y gran esfuerzo seguimos adelante en este trabajo. Gracias.
Thank you, Ms. Manzano. Congratulations. Next, we have item 7.5, administrative appointments for interim principal, Innovation Tech High School.
Governing board members, members of the public, the principalship at Innovation Tech High School right now is some pretty large shoes to fill, as we welcomed at our last meeting outgoing principal Patricia Hurley into the district administration. So we're proud to recommend tonight a great leader who previously served as assistant principal at Pister, and for last school year served as the interim principal at the district's largest high school, Tucson High, where he had an opportunity to lead with distinction, great relationships with families, colleagues, and the community. We know that he'll provide wonderful and exceptional interim leadership during this time of transition over at Innovation Tech High School. So we'd like to recommend Mr. Margarito Casillas to serve as the interim principal at Innovation Tech High School.
Great, thank you, Dr. Trio. Ms. Luna Rose.
Yes, I'd like to move that Mr. Margarito Casillas for the interim principal at Innovation Tech High School.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item passes 4-0. Congratulations.
Good evening, Governing Board, President Dr. Shah, distinguished board members, Superintendent Dr. Trujillo, legal counsel, and all administrators here present today, and to my family who's watching, which my son here who gets graduated this year. I feel honored and blessed to assume the interim principal position at Innovation Tech. I'd like to credit my predecessor, Ms. Patricia Hurley, for laying the foundation and legacy she has left behind the Knight community. Those are some very big shoes to fill, but I'm committed to working 110% to make sure that the foundation and legacy continues. To the Innovation Tech community, staff, parents, and students, I'm super excited to work alongside you to continue to provide the best educational setting for our students' success. I'm also truly excited to work hand in hand with our JTED administration, instructors, teachers, and staff in order to assure that every student is academically and career ready for higher education or industry. Once again, I'm honored for your vote of confidence. Thank you.
Congratulations. All right, next we have administrative appointments for interim principal of CE Rose, K-8 school. Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, along with Ms. Hurley at the last meeting, we also welcomed another outstanding principal into the ranks of district leadership with the appointment of Ms. Alma Carmona Alday. But luckily, for the last 2 years, she has been coaching and mentoring and building the leadership capacity of assistant principal Chantal Rals, who's been working with her for the last couple of years. As assistant principal since 2024. She got her start at Rossbridge, where she served as an MTSS coordinator, facilitator for a few years, and then worked before that for over a decade as a student success specialist in a community that I know is going to miss Ms. Carmona Alday every single day, and the steadiness of her leadership and her vision. I know that they're going to be comforted and optimistic and excited to see somebody else that they believe in, and another key member of that leadership team that will be able to guide them through this year of transition. So with that, governing board members, I proudly recommend Ms. Chantal Rals to serve as the interim principal for CE Rose.
Thank you, Dr. Trujillo. I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Item moved by myself and seconded by Ms. Luna Rose. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Item passes 4-0. Congratulations, Ms. Rals.
Thank you. Good evening, President Shaw, members of the board, Dr. Trujillo, council, and community members. I first want to sincerely thank the governing board and Dr. Trujillo for trusting me with the opportunity to serve as interim principal of CE Rose. It is truly an honor. Over the past 2 years at CE Rose, I have experienced what makes this school so special. It has been such a blessing to be part of this community. Our students, families, staff are passionate, resilient, and deeply committed to each other. CE Rose is more than just a school. It is a family. I also want to take a moment to recognize and thank Alma Carmona Alday for her leadership, mentorship, and trust. Alma dedicated 10 years to CE Rose and helped build the strong culture, systems, expectations, and traditions that make our school what it is today. I have learned so much from her example as a leader, the importance of relationships, high expectations, and always putting students first. She leaves behind an incredible legacy. I definitely have some big shoes to fill, but I step into this role with excitement, humility, and a commitment to continue building on the strong foundation she has created. Lastly, I want to take a moment to thank my family, my village, for their constant love and support throughout this journey, especially my husband, Fernando, who has supported me every step of the way. This work requires sacrifice, long hours, and dedication, and I could not do it without him and my family beside me. I am excited for what is ahead for CE Rose, and I look forward to continuing to serve our students, staff, and community with pride and dedication. Thank you.
Congratulations. Next, we have item 7.7, administrative appointment. We have interim principal Bonillas Traditional Elementary Magnet School. Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, and Bonillas, another school that lost a truly elite and exceptional principal, as Mr. Frankie Schiavone will begin the next step of his leadership journey at McCorkle K-8. There are also big shoes to fill over there at Bonillas. So tonight, we're very proud to recommend one of our most outstanding assistant principals. For the last 4 years, she has served with distinction at Ross Rouge K-8, Magnet 2A dual language school. Prior to that, strong background in professional development as a curriculum service provider, both at Pister and Booth-Thickett. But tonight, Claudia Perez is our recommendation to serve as the interim principal at Bonillas Magnet.
Thank you, Dr. Trio. I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Item moved by myself and seconded by Ms. Luna Rose. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item passes 4-0. Congratulations.
Well, thank you to everyone who is here tonight and talk about big shoes to fill. Frankie Schiavone has really set up Bonillas to be a school of excellence, and I want to thank him for that. And I'm deeply honored and grateful for the opportunity to serve as principal of Bonillas Elementary School. I want to thank district leadership, staff, families, and community for placing your trust in me and you, Dr. Trujillo. I am excited to work alongside such dedicated teachers and staff who make a difference in the lives of children every single day. Together, we will continue creating a safe, supportive, and inspiring environment where every student can learn, grow, and succeed. Most importantly, I look forward to building strong relationships with our students and families. It is truly a privilege to serve this community, and I am excited for all that we will accomplish together. And thank you again for this incredible opportunity.
Congratulations, Ms. Perez. Next, we have item 7.8, administrative appointment, interim principal of Dunham Elementary School.
Yes, governing board members, we are very, very blessed to have, coming out of retirement, to accept this assignment, easily one of the most highly decorated principals we've seen in this district. For 26 years, from 96 all the way to like 2021, Mary Anderson has been an instructional change agent everywhere she's been, whether it was at Miller, guiding that school and leading it from a D to a B, or her 9-year stint at Lineweaver, really laying the foundation for the excellence we see at Lineweaver here today, or most recently, the leadership that she provided over at Fruchtendler, really establishing Fruchtendler as the preeminent choice for education on the east side and guiding it to an A-rated school of excellence. We're proud to have Mary Anderson accept this assignment, and so I'd like to recommend for board consideration Mary Anderson to serve as the interim principal at Dunham.
Thank you, Dr. Trujillo. I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Item moved by myself and seconded by Ms. Luna Rose. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item passes 4-0. Ms. Anderson, thank you for coming back into service with our district. Are you here this evening? She's not. Okay. Well, we're great to have you back in our district as a principal for this next year. And then, Dr. Trujillo, we have item 7.9, administrative appointments, assistant principals.
So our next appointment, we do have a couple of assistant principals that we will be recommending this evening. Our first recommendation is for assistant principal at the Tucson Unified Virtual Academy. We would like the present for governing board consideration, Catherine McDonald.
We're going to do all these together, Dr. Trio?
We can read them
yes,
together.
They're all in one item.
So first, yeah, they're one item. First, we have Catherine McDonald for tuba. And then we have assistant principal of Catalina, Andrea Ayala. And then we've got the assistant principal for CE Rose, interim assistant principal there, Mackenzie Garcia. And we have, finally, we have our interim assistant principal for Ross Rouge Bilingual K-8, Ricky Torres. And I believe we have one more.
We have two more from Tucson High.
We have two more for Tucson High. The first of our final two for Tucson High, we have Mr. Christopher Lambert. And then we have the second of two assistant principal recommendations at Tucson High, Mr. Brian Alday.
Right, thank you, Dr. Trujillo. I'll move the item.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item passes 4-0. Congratulations to all of our new assistant principals. All right. Unless there's any objection by the governing board, we will take a break for photos and congratulations. And really excited about the incoming leadership we'll bring into our district for the next school year.
All right, if we can get our new administrators up front for a quick picture with the governing board, that would be greatly appreciated. One more time, new administrators, if we can get you up front for a picture with our governing board, that would be greatly appreciated. Yes, new administrators, if we can get you up front for a quick photo with our governing board, that would be great. Thank you so much. All right, let's get our principals stepping in. Any newly appointed principals, come on up, picture with our governing board. Check, check. Check, check, check. And now assistant principals, any of our assistant principals, come on up. Come on up, Ms. Manzano. I think you missed the district photo op, but we'll get you in this one.
Congratulations, everyone.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
We know each other from like 24 We worked at the TV station. You and me. Long, long ago. Yes, I
Governing board members, we're going to get started once we have quorum, wherever our governing board members are. So outside or outside? We got one. All right. All right, we're back with quorum. We're going to get started with item 9.1, TUSD Enrollment Stabilization Campaign, school year 26-27. Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, President Shaw, members of the governing board. Before we turn it over to our team, we want to kind of set the stage a little bit about attendance and enrollment. And what you're going to see tonight is the breaking of the ice, the introduction of a change in mentality. What we struggle with here in TUSD is not unlike what other public school districts struggle with regard to a mentality around enrollment, meaning enrollment is a transaction. It's a parent coming into a school office, submitting an application, or maybe bringing in some utilities receipts to verify their address, and then it's on to the next family. But in an era of school choice, in an era of competition with private schools, with ESAs, and what we've known from families that have left the district, we know that relationships are our strongest currency. And that enrollment isn't simply a transaction, enrollment is an experience. And it's an experience that is rooted in a relationship, the relationship that the parent has with the school. So when we talk about enrollment, we're not only talking about when a parent and when a student signs up to the school, we're also talking about their ongoing experience in that school. When grades aren't going well, when there's a disciplinary situation, and what we'll talk about tonight, when students start struggling with their attendance. What we know is not working is 86 different ways to intervene on absenteeism. What we know isn't working are robocalls and form letters to communicate with families about kids that are missing school. What we know does work is person-to-person communication, person-to-person connections. And that's really, when you look at students that are missing school and when you look at parents that need help sometimes with getting their kids to school, they need a relationship in the school. And that's what we're going to be talking about as one of our strongest pivot points heading into the school year, as we take on the struggle of excessive absenteeism and how we can effectively intervene on absenteeism early and often. We put a team together early in the spring, led by our Senior Director for Student Relations, on how we can lead this pivot and how we can do it fast. What are the resources? What are the points of strength that we have? What are some of the leverage points that we have to really effectuate this change coming up? So I'm very excited about what they've put together, and I'm very excited to get started on this work. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our Senior Director for Student Relations, Anna Warmbrand.
Good evening, School Board President Dr. Shaw, esteemed school board members, Dr. Trujillo, and we'll give a shout out to Mr. Ross, our legal, as well this evening. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I do have our team, our leadership team from Student Relations here, both of my program coordinators, program specialists, our program manager for Aspire, and wonderful community health workers, because the Department of Student Relations is all in on this initiative, and we're ready to get to work. I will acknowledge members of the committee a few slides in. I'm going to have Jules O'Haron, who's been project managing this, do our first two data slides.
Good evening, President Shaw, governing board members, Dr. Trujillo. I'm so honored to be here tonight. You may know project management in the context of construction, but project management can also be used to solve problems and harness opportunities. So I'm excited to be here to talk about attendance and enrollment as an opportunity for this district to improve and to help with Ms. Warmbrand lead this team. So enrollment matters. Enrollment matters not just as a transaction to come in and fill out an application, but it's that first touch point of the family with the school. It's the school's opportunity to bring in that family and start that family engagement, just with the student and with the family together, to build a relationship. And we want to study this and build upon the existing work of other schools, how they've done excellent work in enrollment, but are there opportunities to improve? Yes. And can we harness that and build consistency of practice across our district? We believe yes. Attendance also matters. It doesn't matter just to the student. Of course, we want to have academic excellence for that student, and the student needs to attend school in order to improve their academics, but it also impacts their emotional improvement and learning, and it also impacts the school community. It really is important when students can come together as a learning community, and we want every student present to take advantage of that learning. And so now I'd like to hand it over to Ms. Warmbrand to talk about the framework to build upon the importance of enrollment and attendance and how we hope to improve upon those practices across the district. Thank you.
Yes, I've already started looking into the data. I have numbers, many numbers, so I'll be ready for some numbers questions when you are. But do know that we have many, many MTSS plans. We have high-risk attendance data that indicates that 5,826 students meet the criteria for an attendance-focused MTSS plan. Of those 5,826, 3,297 have exclusive plans for attendance. The other students, to make up the rest, the remaining kiddos, have MTSS plans that include attendance and behavior, or attendance and academics, or they have IEPs, or they have 504 plans, or they are coming off of long-term suspension and they have a specific behavior plan as an abeyance contract. So I don't want the board to think that of those 5,826 kids, we only have plans for part of them. All of those students have plans, and Michael Blunt and Michelle Merrick have been great in supplying that data. So just be rest assured. Why are we here today? Well, Student Relations is here with another initiative with attendance and enrollment, something near and dear to our heart. As we manage the behavior for the district, we often see that truancy and attendance overlaps with all of our high-risk youth that we serve in the Department of Student Relations. So we know that this initiative, although we will manage it from this department, we absolutely cannot do it alone. We have a stakeholder committee that Dr. Trujillo convened that we will be expanding this year. We have Dr. Nunez in this space, and I'd just like to acknowledge her building the foundations of this work this past year with this initiative. We have Jules, who just spoke to us. We have Lacey Grijalva, who's the director of FACE, who she and I are going to work very closely together. We already do. We've been under the same leadership for many, many years. And so thank you, Lacey, for being here. Super appreciated. We have the wonderful Chris Anderson with the Synergy team. He leads a mighty team. And without them, we really can't do what we need to do in that data space. So we've been really blessed. I mentioned Michelle and Michael. We had a regional superintendent, but she's a deputy superintendent coming in now. So Michana Rodriguez is also on our committee, and we will have TEA and Eli joining us as well in rotation. I've already spoken to that leadership. So we're in good shape, and we have our enrollment ambassadors as well represented, and our CFO is there as well. So we're in really good shape. We're going to just go over our preliminary plans for this year to address attendance, enrollment, and truancy. So we're going to talk about these community liaison positions first. As Dr. Trujillo mentioned, a letter, an email, a touch point that isn't personal hasn't been our most successful strategy. Although those components can be helpful and supplement a human voice, a human site visit, somebody who loves that family and has taken them under their wing. And that really is what a community liaison is. I've had many in my career as a site principal, and they've been absolute blessings when we've had families struggling in any capacity. Currently, we have 37 community liaisons. So moving into July 1, those community liaisons will report to the Department of Student Relations under shared supervision of the sites that they're currently at. We are not making any personnel movements. We'll be splitting the financing of those positions. So for the school, it's this great opportunity. They get to keep their wonderful professional, and they get some of that title money back into their budget to use for their sites. And we're going ahead and we're taking that financial responsibility into student relations. We will also evaluate jointly. So we will evaluate with one of my program coordinators overseeing this, and we will have an input point for the site administrators. This is very common for the employees that you've met from student relations. So our community health workers, as well as our restorative practice facilitators, are housed with student relations, placed at sites, and shared in responsibility and oversight. So this is a rhythm we're very familiar with. Why are we doing some consolidation in terms of leadership? Because we need to have consistency of vision, and we need to refocus that light to attendance, or enrollment and truancy. And we know when we have employees that are getting the same directive in the same way, the same supports, the same action items, then we can really track consistency much more effectively. So this summer, our summer got busier in student relations, but I have a great team, so bless their, we're going to be transitioning those folks under student relations, and we will have another program coordinator that will come in. We did lose one of our leadership team members, and so we have that open position. So that's not costing the district any more money. We're not building the leadership team with a new position. That's something that existed, and so we're just repurposing what their function is to manage this initiative with everyone's support. We're going to be working, and we already do, quite frankly. I mean, Chris and I are in meetings today, last week, the week before. We meet with the Synergy team on a rotating basis every other week, as well as the MTSS team. So those two folks, those departments have been amazing and just supporting us in building the data systems that we need. I actually just spoke to Dr. Freitas, and we looked at the dashboards. I know that's something that's going to be critical for articulation of data. So we are going to weave those data systems together, and we're going to make sure that these community liaisons and our site administration, our regional superintendents, our deputy superintendent, Dr. Trujillo, school safety, I could go on and on. Everyone gets data reports from student relations, even all of you. So you will start to see a focus for attendance and enrollment this next year. So please know that we've been working on this for the past 2 months to roll out comprehensive data systems that are usable and easy. The other part that we'd like to do, and this is something the Synergy team is supporting us on, is building our back-end data compliance analysis for our community liaisons. It's really important that, like our wonderful community health workers that are here, that they're able to track student by student, name by name, their parent contact, the intervention that they're working on, the date that they did so, what the supports were, what the narrative was, so that as our program coordinator pulls data, every other week we do a 10-day cycle, we're able to monitor that all of the students that are high risk and are struggling in this space are getting that support, and that parents have had a direct personal contact. So that's another back-end system that the Synergy department is supporting us with. Yes, busy summer. So what else are we going to do? Well, we need to provide for these community liaisons role clarity. They have done so many things. I mean, walking kids home in the rain, handing out uniforms, doing cafecitos. They're everywhere all at once. Community liaisons are critical positions. And so now, how do we look at their day-to-day existence and work with their site administrator to ensure that they're able to do those wonderful community outreach pieces that we know and love and that are so important, and also focus on those kids that are struggling with attendance and enrollment if enrollment is dropping at that site. And so we did extend their day. So instead of a 6-hour, they're 8-hour employees now. Because if I was a community liaison, I would say to my new director, hey, when am I supposed to do the Synergy reporting or make these extra phone calls? We've added additional hours in their day so that they're able to focus in this space. And that would include home visits, not alone, of course, but home visits and whatever else we would need to do in that space. So just know that we're thinking about that on the front end, and then training them on how they track that data, working with the amazing attendance clerks and the office staff and the site administrator with their behavior management team. We will continue and we'll partner really closely with Lacey Grijalva to make sure that they're still having their wonderful community liaison professional development on a quarterly basis, if not more frequently, data decisions, and just making sure that they're customer service trained. So as we move into the fall, we're going to start to integrate these folks into the department. I will be doing site visits like I do with all of our employees and checking in on them. Principals will have their first meeting within the next 2 weeks with me so we can talk about vision and plan. The systems will be built out for them. All of their data will be ready. They'll be receiving welcome letters from the department so that when July 1 hits, everyone's on the same page in terms of what we're going to be doing moving forward. And we're going to start to really target pretty quickly into that first quarter our students that are struggling with truancy and attendance issues. And lucky for me, we're student relations. So we have that data name by name, school by school, region by region. Everything is broken out. And so that's where the collaborative approach comes. Do they have MTSS plans? How can we support the MTSS folks to be able to analyze that data? Are these kids that are under Diana Duran, one of my program coordinators here tonight, who manages the IGA for us for our court-involved students? Is there overlap with our community health workers with the Aspire program for students that have substance abuse and misuse? Where does dropout prevention fit in? I've already spoken to Mr. Figueroa, so he's aware that we're going to be in that space working with him as well. Where do our enrollment ambassadors fit in? Whose kids are those? How are we going to support those students? So with a triage supportive approach, student services under Shauna Rodriguez. These are all folks that we work with consistently, and we will be utilizing their support as well as our internal department to work with those tier 3 students first and foremost. Come right away. I would say we'll get August rolling, get everyone in their schools, make sure everyone has food, uniforms, the normal community liaison, and then we're going to start to work on those lists. So that's the space we're in, and that will go all the way into the winter and spring, and we won't stop, just as the Aspire team did not, until every student has been reached and every parent has been contacted, and we have a plan and resources for each one. So that's our beginning starting point for this next year. We will, of course, continue to analyze programmatically. Is this working? What do we need to change and shift? And then what can we refine? And of course, I'll be back. I'll be back with data and numbers and maybe some asks. I just want to preview that. So tier 3 response model, all students, we're going to look at enrollment pathways. Our proactive attendance communication, building that climate and culture. This is the bread and butter of our community liaisons and something our whole department will begin to engage in that training as well. So all restorative practice facilitators, community health workers. We're going to look at our character strong match with BJ Medicine's leadership. So we're going to really build some comprehensive pieces. Andrea Martinez is ready with our PBIS systems and how we build that climate and culture. And then we're going to look at those high-risk students that I just spoke of. I looked at their names today, in fact. I started doing numbers. So just know that when we get into that really high-need intensive space, we will be utilizing our alternative education programs with Dr. Nunez and our dropout prevention programming as well. So we're hoping that this is going to respond directly to what stakeholder priorities are. As in our community, the school board, as a parent myself, I know it's critical. What our kids need, they want to be engaged in school. We need to figure out how to assist them to do that. We're gonna have a lot more consistency than we've had before. We're gonna leverage who we have and then build that capacity out. And then, again, we will look for future programmatic refinements based upon results. And this is the team and folks that have been involved in this space. And I'll just give you all a moment to take a look. I think I mentioned pretty much everyone. HR has been absolute joy to work with as well. Those ladies are on top of it. Dr. Hewitt and Mr. Ross have come as well and sit in this committee space, and we're always lucky to have them there. And of course, Mr. David Scott, who I spoke in length with today, who's just an amazing data wizard. I'd also like to add Dr. Freitas into this appreciation, as we'll be looking at the IB dashboard, and I previewed it earlier today. Okay. Questions?
All right, thank you for the presentation, Ms. Warmbrand. I'll get us started with some questions. Can you first, I know you brought a lot of staff with you. I know you mentioned a couple positions. Can you introduce your staff and their roles by name so we know who's here with us, spending their evening?
Yes, sir. It's my favorite part. And thank you for moving this up. You know I never come quite alone. So we have our Aspire team here. I'll go with all those folks first. We have Michelle Orduña. She is with Tucson High. She's our community health worker. We have Myra Rodriguez, who's housed at Pueblo. She's another one of our wonderful community health workers. We have Melanie Ramirez. She is out of Catalina, one of our community health workers. We have Diana Duran, who manages both the IGA for the district as well as the program coordinator for Aspire. And we have Noel Valle, who is our program manager for Aspire. And we're missing a couple of members. They're taking a well-deserved vacation. We have BJ Metzen. She's our character education program coordinator for the district, and she oversees all of our Character Strong programming, and a variety of many, many other things. We have Melanie Schiappini. She's our compliance liaison for the district. And we have Andrea Martinez, our program coordinator in charge of PBIS and restorative practice facilitators.
Thank you.
And we have Raquel Garcia. She is our one remaining program specialist. There used to be more, but hard times and such. But she's hanging in. She's doing a great job.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. One position I don't see are any community liaisons here. And so one concern I have is how we've been engaging community liaisons these last couple of weeks and months. From my understanding is that all the things that the community liaisons will be doing next school year that they're not doing now are all in the job description. But are we going to lose all of them? Are they the right fit for the roles that we're going to have them do now with this change? And so we want to address the concerns I've had about having all these roles that are in their job description but are really new to them going into this next school year.
That's a legitimate concern. Integrating 37 people into a new department with a different type of a focus may be clunky for some of the employees. They may very much enjoy doing the community outreach and the cafecitos and the data portion of it, which is going to be important, and we worked with Human Resources to ensure that that can be part of the existing position so that we did not have to build a whole new type position for this and then have to rehire all of these wonderful dedicated individuals. So I do anticipate that it's possible that some people after this year may say, you know what, this part isn't for me, and then we will rehire into that space. I think that our communication and collaboration with site administrators in having that land in a much softer way will be important. And they will hear from me in the next couple of weeks as well with a welcome letter. Thus far, there have been some community liaisons that have already reached out, and I've worked with Human Resources. And some folks say, I really can only work half-time, or can I still say a 0.6, or how do we maneuver that? And so I've been going one by one through those folks that have reached out, and we've been able to reach really good conclusions, and the schools have been able to keep their community liaisons. And so that process of integration and change has already begun. And I hope that we're able to keep most of the folks. I do know that data component sometimes for folks is not their bliss. They want to be with the kids and with the people, and so we can honor and respect that, but I assure you we will support them in that integration. They will have someone side by side. This team never lets their people fail.
Well, thank you for addressing that. And we have 37 positions, right?
Yes, sir.
And are those filled right now, ending the school year?
There's some that are going to have some openings, and some folks that, like I said, are looking at their hours and their times. We have some retired folks that 8 hours is too much. So actually, our CFO, Mr. Hernandez, has been really helpful with HR in managing that, as those folks won't roll into my DAC until July 1st. But yes, there are a few. And also, I will say that Lacey Grahava has worked with them quite consistently, and so she's provided lists, and we're going to work hand in hand. That's someone that these folks work very closely with, and so, like I said, we'll be in joint training and supports of them.
So one more question before I turn over to my governing board member. So with can you speak to the current funding for these community liaisons, the 37 we have, and then as we increase from 6 to 8 hours, how are we funding that? And I'll caveat that saying, I'm hoping that this will pay for itself as we increase attendance, increase enrollment. We'll be able to make up any changes with revenue coming in from students in our ADM.
Yeah, I think we'll bring up Ricky to kind of get a little bit more detail. But the good news is you have a funding source from the override. You had about $900,000 that the voters approved for school-based attendance initiatives. And I think Anna did a really good job kind of talking conceptually that the goal is to move in a portion of those override dollars so that we would fund 50% of every school community liaison position, relieve the sites so they can get some of their Title I money back and spend it in other places. Ricky, if you want to go ahead and add.
Yeah, so as Dr. Three mentioned, the majority of the school community liaisons are funded through Title I. Title I requires every school to spend at least 1% of their budget on parent involvement, and so, our family engagement, I should say. And so the way these schools have done it is by funding a school community liaison, and that kind of meets the requirement. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the existing positions, as Anna mentioned, and we're going to split them actually 60-40. So 60% is going to be funded by the schools, and 40% is going to be funded through the override. So the override has, as Dr. Trujillo mentioned, about $900,000 towards attendance initiatives. So right now, based on that estimate, we're going to spend about $563,000 on that. So we'll be returning about $227,000 back to the schools. Those schools that have those existing positions that are funded through Title I, they get to keep those dollars and repurpose them for whatever they want to do. By doing this split, it still allows them to use Title I, it still allows them to meet the family engagement requirement, and allows Anna's department to then provide the initiative for attendance.
Thank you. Ms. Shaw, go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm glad that you mentioned that some folks from Dropout Prevention were spoken to. I would love to have one of them a part of the stakeholder committee. You know, Dory's been working in that department for so long, and I love her, and I love everyone in the department, and so it would be great to, you know, include them a part of that, as a part of that committee. And so with that, could you talk a bit about how this, I guess, added duty would complement the work already happening in dropout prevention?
So I've been really lucky to work with dropout prevention and Debbie under Mr. Armenta over these past years, like dropout prevention and student relations and all ed. We've all been together in that space, and so I'm really comfortable working with the outgoing program coordinator, and also have started conversations with our incoming program coordinator. And I work really closely with Dr. Nunez, who my understanding is going to be overseeing dropout prevention, and so she is on the committee, and I will absolutely speak to her about having a representative. And so I know that their mission is to look at those kids that are dealing with truancy. And we have approximately 200 students any given year for the past 3 years that sit in a truancy space where they are already receiving consequences for that, not out of school suspension, but phone calls home, interventions, detentions, those types of things that you see in our progression in the Code of Conduct. And I know that they're out knocking on doors, finding kids, going here and there and everywhere to make sure that these kids come back. And so making sure that their lists are comprehensive, that they're broken up by school, that they're categorized highest to lowest in terms of need is the first commitment we've made. Melanie Schiappini, our compliance liaison, just sent him his first set of high-risk reports. We focused them on the 8th to 9th grade transition students so that they know going into high school who they need to support right away. And I told him that after this board presentation, and once the school year ended, because everyone was running really hard, that we would have a meeting and go through where his mission and where he sees his people and how they're broken up, because that may have changed from where Debbie left off, and what regions are going to support or what sites they're going to be at, so that we can support them with those comprehensive lists. And I also said that any training that we provide in that community liaison space, we will always include them. And now we will be including them with our Deans and ISI training so that we have a really comprehensive training cycle that they're involved in. And then we'd like to learn from them their strategies as well, because they've been doing it a minute. To your point, Dory remembers me when I was a kid at Tucson High. She knows how to knock on doors and get kids back in school. So they have a wealth of knowledge and depth in that department that we're happy to learn from them in that space as well.
Thank you for mentioning that. Also, where's my notes on this? Well, Dory mentioned when I met with her and another staff member a few weeks ago that Dropout Prevention used to have a program called like Steps to Success.
Yes.
And I guess they work with the city of Tucson,
Yes.
local businesses, Goodwill, and others. And I forget exactly what that program was about, but I know it's not a thing anymore. And so I'm
Yes.
wondering if we can also partner up with the city or others, like to make it a collective effort. Like after I drop my daughter off to school, I'm always seeing, like I go down PMO, and I always see some students, usually a high school student, walking away from the high school in the morning. And so, like, I wonder, like, what do we do? What do community members do when we see a possible truant child? Like, I don't want to, of course, get them in trouble, but, like, it's pretty obvious sometimes that people are leaving school when they probably should be there. So is there, like, a strategy for that?
So I think that as a Tucson High parent, I also see in that space kids where I know the bell rang and they're not there. And so I'll speak to the steps to success first, because when I was a principal here, I participated in that. And that was a really beautiful day. A lot of organization, but a beautiful day. And if that's something that Dr. Nunez and Mr. Figueroa would like to engage with again, we are all hands in. For my team, I don't know if they remember, some of them were not, they were in school at the time, but I remember it and knocking on doors, and it was really a beautiful day. And so I'm very open to those types of very visible, hands-on TUSD in the space, engaging with community. In terms of protocols, for what we do if we see truant kids, I'm really lucky to be transitioning under Mr. Ross this next year, beginning in July 1 with our legal counsel. And so that's definitely something that we can look at, where our portal to portal starts and ends, and what our obligation could be in that space. I agree with you. I have that moment of, like, do I roll down the window and be like, go to class? What do you do? No, that's not appropriate. So yes, I think every parent here who drops their kids off has had that moment.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Romero.
Thank you again, Anna, for you and your team always coming with the numbers. I know you guys do really hard work. I've seen it firsthand, so thank you.
Thank you.
So a bunch of questions, of course. Kind of going back to what Dr. Shaw was mentioning about the roles of these the people that are going to be having to do the, go out and meet with people, and that's not currently what's in their job description. And I'm sure there is going to be people that are going to be leaving that position. To accomplish this, are we giving them a new, I guess, their responsibilities? What levels are we going to go in and see if they're achieving these new expectations? Are we having like a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day expectation evaluation with them to make sure that they're doing what they're saying they're doing? I guess I don't want to just have somebody come in thinking that they're going to do it, and we're not getting the results because they're not all in. They're going to start off in, but then go back to what they're comfortable doing, which, as you know, with any type of employees, it's easy to do, especially if there's no accountability to keep them on task with the focus.
So I'm going to just turn to our community health workers, because when they joined into student relations, Diana and Noel did a great job working with Hank from the Synergy team and Chris and Kim to build a compliance component, that back-end reporting, where every touch point that they have with students is documented. And so every single month, Noel sends me a full report of exactly how many students have been served, how many interventions have been done. Every single one has a parent contact initially for service, or a consistent contact if they're coming out of a disciplinary action and receiving support. And so we are looking at replicating that back-end compliance piece, and that reporting to that program coordinator. They will be managing all of that data entry to ensure that they're doing what they need to be doing. And we absolutely have folks that sometimes that's a daunting challenge. And so we will always take a supportive side-by-side approach with employees that are struggling in that space. But part of our obligation to our students is to ensure that when we do our evaluations in the spring, when everyone is evaluated, in our department. We all have classified employees, every single person, every time, fall and spring. And so that will be true for our 37 folks. They'll be evaluated through the department with a component of the additional 3 questions that will be sent to their site administrators. And so through that process, we're going to be able to support them to give the best quality care for students, because we are student relations, their priority, and the effectiveness is what is happening will come first, but it is also our obligation to teach them and support them in that way. And we're not going to have long data entry processes. We'll have click boxes to ensure that these things are happening, because to your point, if we're using funding for this, we also need to have results. And if we're not, then we need to show the data so that we can pivot and see where we need to change. So we will have a compliance system for each of these employees that they do need to enter their data in so that we can track how they're serving students.
Can I clarify really quick? So you were saying the things that we're going to have the community liaisons do is in their current job description, but
Yes,
we're not
sir.
enforcing that job
Yes, sir.
description.
It's not new.
Yeah, we're in a unique situation, and it happens in big organizations where over time, the actual duties being carried out from the ground drift away from the original job description. I think part of it was we were so compliance driven under the old USP, and then yes, we have inconsistent expectations from school to school to school, and we actually do have some school committee liaisons that probably don't know that a lot of these are the core duties in the original description. And clarity is kindness, which is why clarity of expectations have to be the first order of business when they're back on contract. We have to give them all of the tools that they need to be successful. And Ms. Warrenbrand is going to do a wonderful job with that. And we have to support them along the way. And we understand that at the end of all this, there may be folks that say, you know what, getting in a school van and doing a home visit, looking at synergy reports, sitting in MTSS meetings, maybe that's not what I want to do. Maybe I don't want to do the home visits. But I think as an organization, you know, our commitment is always, let's meet people where they're at. Let's meet our employees where they're at. We want to give them a chance. We don't want to displace them. We don't want to be interviewing for a bunch of new people. We trust our principals. Our principals have hired good people. Let's give this a run. Let's be very clear about what the new expectations are, and then go forward from there.
Thank you. Go ahead. I need more questions.
And I might jump back and forth, so please excuse me on this, Anna. So
Sure.
On the title of this presentation, Attendance and Enrollment Initiative. And I guess to me, I think this should, I don't see that those really connect well. This looks more like an attendance initiative. I know there was one mention here about enrollment in here, one of the phases at the end. But it seems like with the attendance, what we have with our, community, people going out to the community with these schools, they're already enrolled at our schools. We're looking to keep them attending, eliminating the tardiness and things of that nature. Does this really relate into enrollment? Am I missing something, or how is it relating to enrollment?
I'll ask Anna, if you want to talk a little bit about the liaisons work with families that are new, right? So there's another aspect of that work. It's just that the truancy and the absenteeism interruption is probably the biggest part of the job. And so what happens, Board Member Romero, is when we have thousands of students that miss so much throughout the school year, we're not able to get paid on them. We're not able to collect membership money on them at the 40th and the 100th. The district takes that same kind of loss as we do when a student leaves the district. So when you get more students attending school more often, you do increase your revenue as well as your academic outcome. So in that sense, the pursuit of more students that currently aren't attending enough across a 40-day span or a 100-day span for the district to actually collect the membership money, if we're able to do that through person-to-person contact, we're now able to increase the revenue and increase the enrollment, overall enrollment in the district. So that's where you get into the excessive absenteeism. When you have students that miss 18 days which is how ADE measures it, 9 days per semester, you're not getting the $5,400 in membership money that otherwise the district would receive if they were actually in full attendance. But the student remains enrolled in the district because they haven't missed 10 consecutive days. That's where absenteeism interruption can play a big factor. If you have a school where you've got 30 students that have missed 18 days of school, they hit that excessive absenteeism mark. Those are 30 students that the district does not see any revenue coming in. But maybe through this initiative, maybe of those 30 students, 10 actually show up every single day. Those are 10 more students that now the district would actually have back. They would perform better academically, and of course the revenue piece would join it as well. If you can talk a little bit about the liaisons' interactions with new families.
Yeah, and so I think that it's strategic in placing the attendance, to Dr. Trujillo's point, first and foremost for the fall and the beginning of the spring, because those are our kids that are with us right now. And so I used an analogy with the Synergy team today. It's like if you have a landslide, what we're trying to do is stop that landslide and start to rebuild that mountainside back up. I also know that there are other pieces that are at play in terms of enrollment, potential restructurings, and so it's more advantageous for us to guarantee to the best of our ability that the kids that are with us, that we're getting that ADM and that they're in school learning first and foremost. And there's a couple of hundred of them. And so it's not a small task to undertake. Now, once we have a good working system this year where we're monitoring, we're seeing results, we're seeing that ADM come back in, we're seeing our kids learning first and foremost and back engaged with school, at that point in time, we can look at the same type of triaged enrollment strategy. However, simultaneously, our community liaisons will work in that community space to do recruitment, to meet with families, to keep those families who are considering leaving to not leave. And that's where our enrollment ambassadors and communications comes into play. And so those are two other collaborators in that space. But first and foremost, right as we hit the new school year, I want to make sure that those kids that are struggling right now have someone. So you're not incorrect in saying, wait, this looks a little bit lopsided, but it's by design initially because those are the kids that are right in front of us now. Not to say that enrollment will be on the back burner, but those kids in the fall that we know are struggling, those students need to have triage support immediately.
So would it be better to explain that as more as enrollment retention? Because we have the enrollment, we're not increasing enrollment, but we're retaining these people that are enrolled, so we're getting credit for them.
Yes, that would be for this next year, what we can look at capacity-wise and support-wise, because I don't want to come in front of the board and overpromise, like, we will magically get these 3,400 students back. I'm realistic, but what we can do is we can work with 400 students and assist them, and then another 300, and then another 300. And so any initiative that I've managed or seen successful, I'm a state turnaround principal trained, it's a 3 to 5 year process. And so for us and for the department and for the committee, it was really important to look at those names of those kids, those hundreds of kids we have right now. So yes, enrollment, attainment, and not hemorrhage those kids out first. But it's not like, oh, well, and then we're done. Not by any means, but it's just important that those kids that I see their names in my head right now, that they get supports right away.
And as far as were we having issues with the absenteeism, I think I know, but for the public knowledge, what grade levels are we having those issues mostly?
Well, when it comes to absenteeism, we do have our higher rates of tardies and truancy in our middle and high schools. That's where we have those higher rates of kids potentially making strategic choices, or tardies, which sometimes and oftentimes may not be their fault, but sometimes it is. To Ms. Shaw's point earlier, they got to school proximity. and then they made a strategic choice. So it's in our secondary space. Now, when you look at chronic absenteeism, though, that isn't just unique to our secondary spaces. We have a lot of elementary kiddos that are struggling to come to school and parents that are at a loss how to get them to get out the door. And that's real. I've been an elementary principal. We've talked to quite a few elementary principals as well. I've been to every school. I hear it. And so for that, those community liaisons are critical bridges from the school to that home piece. How are we going to get that kid in? Are they sick 50 days this year? Oh my goodness. How can we help you get some health resources? We're going to reach out to Lacey and her team right away. What do we need? How are we going to work? Is this child in foster care? Whatever it may be. And so when it comes to chronic absenteeism, we do have certain pockets throughout elementary schools that are more chronic than some of our secondary spaces.
And as far as the 37 current community liaisons that we have, are they spread evenly through the different levels, or are they focused in certain grade levels? Or
Oh, it's all over the place, sir, to be quite honest. We have 3 at high schools, and everyone else is spread throughout an elementary K-8 space and a few at middle schools. So there isn't a consistent triage or placement of those folks at this time. We're going to leave everyone where they're at. But either the expansion of the position, if it's successful, into all schools, or a relook in the future may be important. As you know, we place our community health workers and our restorative practice facilitators strategically every year based upon data for the area that they support. And so strategic placement does work. Our data shows that. At this time, though, with this much transition, with 37 employees, we did not feel it wise to throw up the deck of cards and replace all of these people. I think they need to be trained and supported first. But that's not to say in the future there wouldn't be the potential for strategic movement.
And as far as measuring our goals when we know we're winning this battle, or making progress to be successful in what we're looking to do, and I know you use the analogy of rebuilding the side of a mountain. And when you do that, whatever's on your base foundation, you pull one piece out, it's going to reslide on down. So I know it's very hard. You got to make sure that this foundation is there. But what are our measurable goals? I think you mentioned at least 3 to 5 years is what we're looking at to see some real results based on something new. But how are we going to monitor our successes?
Well, I think that there's a testament to the Aspire team, because I gave them their own mountain to climb, in that they had almost the equivalent number of Tier 3 students engaging in substance abuse and misuse district-wide. And by the end of that first semester, before then, but we'll just be generous, all of those kids have been met with and receiving services. We see our substance abuse and misuse numbers for suspension dropping drastically. That's for another presentation, but we're hundreds down district-wide. And so when I talk about those Tier 3 students in that truancy space and the collaboration we need, it's almost the same amount of kids that Noel Valle's team took on in the Aspire team. And there was, 5 of you at first? 4? And then we grew to 6. And there's 37 folks in this space now. And so this next year, what our plan is, and the results and the financial investment that we're going to engage in, is that those kids, to the best of our ability, are engaging in school. I anticipate that we will see results of hundreds of kids this year. So that's the very beginning of this, because I know it can be done with a much smaller team, albeit they are magicians, but that said, I think that our community liaisons and whoever our incoming program coordinator will be as well. And so I have a lot of hope that if we do a kid by kid by kid approach, as we have other initiatives, that we should see a lot of success this year.
And one more thing, I hope it's just one more thing. Do you think to accomplish these goals that we are going to need to revisit and improve our code of conduct to be successful? Are there other needs that might be keeping our hands tied because of our code of conduct?
Well, there are some stakeholders in this space that do believe in a sort of a velvet hammer approach, right? A wonderful community liaison doing all of the reach out, and then in other districts, for example, a truancy officer who also works in that space, or a dropout prevention person. This is things that I've heard. I'm not saying this is what student relations endorses one way or another, but one thing I've learned in working in that code of conduct process with the district behavior management team, and we'll see you on the 9th of June, we'll be back, is that stakeholders who make up these committees, if that's a space that they want to be in, then that's definitely something we can discuss in terms of how that overlaps with the code of conduct, what other types of discipline or interventions would be appropriate, and how do we support community liaisons in that space. So I can't speak to what that would look like, because we're just a conduit for our stakeholders in that space to make that determination.
Well, then, I guess just on a follow-up, I would just, if you see things out there where, again, you guys are on the front lines and see it every day. We're not there on the front lines seeing it every day. If there are concerns that come out even a bit more, that the board should relook at certain things on our code of conduct, that we would be able to be brave enough to bring those issues up to our board and have those discussions to achieve success in these things. Because as we know, we're low as far as in our enrollment and decreased proficiencies and things of that nature. Again, how do we become better? We need to hear from the people on the ground. So thank you, Anna, for you and your team.
Oh, you're welcome. And TEA and Eli are very clear in these spaces, and so we're really blessed to have them. They are not shy.
Go ahead, Ms. Luna Rose.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Farmbrand.
You're
And Mr. Romero took like two of my questions.
Oh, I hear
so,
that.
And I appreciate the dialogue. I guess more of just a comment that I'm hopeful for this, and what success will look like once it's implemented. And I know there's just so many layers, and I appreciate the work of your team. I know this has been an ongoing thing, and it will be an ongoing thing. And obviously, you would love to see those, not just numbers stabilized, but to rise. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for working on this. I know it is a labor of love to do this. So thank you for everything, and Dr. Nunez as well for spearheading. Thank you.
So this is just an information item tonight, no actions required by the board tonight. And I want to just close with a couple of questions really quickly before we close this topic. On slide 3, can you go to slide 3, Jean? You have control over it.
I do.
So you had mentioned 5,800 students, and I know Dr. Trujillo's mentioned that the way we measure chronic absenteeism, we're looking at unexcused absences, but the state and how we probably should be looking at is excused. Is this 1,500 just the unexcused absences, chronic unexcused absences?
So when we pull for the high-risk data for the MTSS plans, we don't include the excused absences. Those do not come up in that space.
Then.
Yes, sir.
And do we know how many students would fit this criteria if we include the excused absences as well?
I am sure that Chris could get us that information.
Yeah, because just with the unexcused, we're at like 13, 14% of our kids.
Yes, sir.
With chronically absenteeism, unexcused, let alone those with illnesses and other excused absences. And that's terrifying in terms of how many students we're talking about here, how much percentage of our kids. And every time I'm reading any articles, like we've gotten a big study that came out about a month ago talking about the 10-year learning loss, pre-pandemic learning loss that we've seen across the country. and look at any article or any news report or any interview of anybody talking about this, one of the 2 or 3 things that are consistently mentioned in terms of trying to describe the reasons why 75% of our school districts in this country have English and math learning loss over the last decade, chronic absenteeism is often cited pretty regularly. And so I think this might be one of the most important initiatives next year, because not only are we addressing the enrollment and financial issues in the ADM of our district, but when these kids are not in their classrooms, they're not probably learning.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're talking about the measurements and what we're trying to do, we have 37 schools that have the community liaisons, 50 schools that don't, and I'm assuming that the 37 schools are our lowest income, and the most schools with probably higher rates of some of this chronic absenteeism. I'd love to see, if Holly's listening out there in the netherworld somewhere, and we're looking at data down the road, looking at our 37 schools versus those that don't have this, maybe those that have unfilled positions as a control group, and seeing whether this work is really making that impact on absenteeism, and then looking further at the academic achievement piece. Are we seeing then, coming into April, the learning loss or the learning issues, proficiency growth with those schools that are achieving some goals with chronic absenteeism, and seeing whether we're actually moving the needle on the learning piece, which is ultimately what our district needs to do. So thank you for the presentation, and looking forward to seeing what we get in terms of data over these next couple of months and semesters ahead. So thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Trujillo, for entrusting student relations with this, and the committee, the collaboration, district-wide, all hands on deck.
Thank you. All right, Governing Board, we're going to move back to our consent agenda. Item 6, Dr. Trujillo.
President Shaw, board members, the administration recommends approval of the consent agenda, items 6.2 through 6.6.
Governing Board members? All right, I'll move the items 6.2 to 6.6. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item passes 4-0, excuse me. Next, we go on to item 7.10, approval of the fiscal year 26-27 override funded compensation increases and salary schedules for TEA consensus and substitute teachers. Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, I'd like to welcome our Chief Financial Officer, Ricky Hernandez, as well as our Employee Relations Director, Mr. Jason Freed. Tonight, we're proudly presenting the revised salary schedule, if you will, that will be inclusive of the 4% increase to our teachers and all of our TDRA and TDRB employees for the upcoming school year. Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, board members. So about a month ago, I was here before you to have the salary schedules approved for all other employee groups. So just kind of digging into the presentation here, on April 14th, you approved the salary schedules with the 4% override increases for everybody, including AFSCME, and TA consensus, excluding the TDRA, TDRB, EGSED teachers, and the substitutes in the non-bargaining units. So tonight, we're here to present all of those that weren't presented to you on the 14th. So the override committed to providing teachers in the TDRA, TDRB, and EGSED salary schedules with a $3,000 increase to their salaries. For substitute teachers in particular, but also other employee groups, the commitment was to provide a 4% raise. And so we're here to talk about those salary schedules for the TA consensus and for substitute teachers. So like before, the implementation process is going to go like this. This is going to apply to all regular positions in TDRA, TDRB, EGSED, and substitute. It will also apply to the leased and the return to work employees in those specific groups. Now, for leased and return to work employees, their salaries are capped at 80% of whatever a regular teacher would make, for example. So instead of a $3,000 increase, they would get a $2,400 increase. And that's just to ensure that our regular teachers essentially remain competitive compared to our leased and return to work employees. The implementation is going to be that all employees in those salary schedules, they're going to move ahead 2 steps, $500 a step, $1,000. then they will receive an additional supplemental pay of $2,000 on top of those 2 steps. And I'll show you an example of what that looks like in the next slide. For substitute teachers specifically, they're just going to receive a 4% increase to whatever their assigned daily rate is. So whatever the rate is that they're being paid for, we're just gonna bump it up by 4%. And all of those salary schedules that are written in kind of Sanskrit, because it's really hard to kind of put those in a nice looking chart, are all attached to the board agenda item. But the cost of these, inclusive of all benefits, is just over $12.3 million, which is by far and away the brunt of the impact of the override. So about 1/3 of the override is going toward teacher compensation, which was originally the commitment. So here I put on several examples here just because I know that there are several positions that are part of TDRA and TDRB, but I'll point out a couple on here. So teacher TDRA step 1. This is a brand new out of college teacher, who wants to join TUSD. So right now, if they're right on that step 1 in TDRA, they make $48,400. Once this goes into effect, that brand new teacher will now make $51,400. So essentially, the starting salary for teachers in TUSD, once we talk about the classroom site for supplemental base pay and a separate agenda item, will now be $51,000. That will be the starting base pay for a regular teacher. Now, we cap experience at 15 years. So if teachers come in with up to 15 years of experience, we move you up to step 15. So if you're currently on step 15, you'll be moved to step 17. You'll be given $2,000. You'll be given the additional $1,000 for supplemental base. So you'll go from making $55,400 to $58,400, and so on. So there are several examples, including a couple of examples for leased and return to work. And then there's a certified substitute for somebody who is a certified sub for more than 20 days. They currently make $160 per day. A 4% increase will mean that they will make $166.40 per day. And so these are all there. And again, the charts are all available in the BAI if anybody wants to kind of read them in a little bit more detail. Additional considerations to take into account, similar to the ones that we did about a month ago. No increases are being provided for things like coaches, extra duty positions, or supplemental roles like summer school. So those rates of pay remain unchanged. They are not affected by the override. This does not increase other compensation items. So for example, payouts and sick leave, vacation, and severance are not changed. So for example, right now, a teacher with more than 10 years experience can take up to 90%, well, not 90%, but they can take up to a certain amount of their sick leave is paid out to them. It's paid out at the substitute daily rate. It'll be paid out at the sub daily rate, not including the override. Okay, because it is really just to be the daily rate. The override is really as a compensation item for current employees. Other things like educational stipends, supplemental pay rates, those also remain unchanged that are part of the consensus. This will go into effect July 1 of 2026, or the first contract day of that position, whichever is later. Since most of our teachers don't actually start until July 30 contractually, some of these will go into effect on July 30. Now, as part of all of this, and this is something that Mr. Freed can speak to if you have questions on this, is that the district is committing to working with TEA to increase the steps from $500 to $750 for future TDRA, B, and exit salary schedules, and those costs and sources are going to be determined at a future date. So right now, the salary schedule will have a step difference of $500 like it currently is, but we're committing to working with TEA to increase those step differences to $750, and we will be back to you, or Employee Relations will be back to you at some point to figure out what that looks like, what that cost is, and how we will move forward. But at this point, what we're doing is moving everybody 2 steps and giving everybody $2,000 for a total of $3,000 to their contract. If you approve tonight, Finance and HR are going to work to implement the new salary schedules for 26-27. As I mentioned previously, Employee Relations will continue to work with TEA to look at implementing a salary schedule change of steps from $500 to $750, and we will notify employees of their respective increases once everything is finalized by Human Resources. Any questions?
All right, thank you, Ms. Hernandez. Thank you, Mr. Fried, for being here. Governing Board, any questions? I just want to say, I'm glad we're in this position. It's a much better position we would have been otherwise if the override hadn't passed. So I want to thank just the scores upon scores of folks from all of our bargaining groups, some of them here tonight, who knocked on doors, talked to voters, and got us through this override last year so that we have that 4% and even more for our teachers that we can do. So thank you everyone who worked on this, and thank you to our community for supporting TUSD and our teachers and staff and all of our kids with the override passage. And with that, I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Item moved by myself and seconded by Ms. Luna Rose. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and next we have item 7.11, approval to approve the Classroom Site Fund supplemental base pay for the 26-27 fiscal year. Mr. Fried, you can go ahead.
Thank you. I was waiting for the slide to come up.
Yep.
Yeah.
With more good news for our teachers, approval for the usage of classroom site fund dollars for an increase to supplemental base pay.
Thank you. You'll see the MOA, the Memorandum of Agreement that TEA and TUSD has joined into. The Classroom Site Fund, some call 301 Fund, is supposed to be used and expended annually. And so when we looked at the projections for next year, we're able to add to the supplemental base component that is part of TDRA salary schedule for teachers. And so you'll see that $1,000 increase. So that would be on top of the increases that Mr. Hernandez was just talking about. So anybody who's TDRA will not just see a $3,000, they'll actually see a $4,000 raise with the approval of this agenda item.
All right, I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Governing Board, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, next we have approval for contracts for return to work teachers, return to work counselors, and second semester teacher hires of the Tucson Unified School District for next school year.
Yes, I'll turn this over to our Director for Human Resources, Deanna Reyes. As we mentioned previously, there are 3 positions in the school district that we incentivize to fill hard-to-fill positions or high-needs positions. One of those incentives is coming back to work directly for the district through retirement. The board took action first with teachers to deal with the teacher vacancy issue, and that has been wildly successful, getting teachers out of retirement, come work directly for the district. Then we took action, the governing board took action for counselors a few years ago to help fill those critical needs. Most recently, you took actions for psychologists. So that's what's on the docket this evening. I'll turn it over to Diana for any more details or questions you may have.
And Diana, this is your first presentation to the governing board in this role.
It is.
Yes, well, welcome.
Thank you. So, good evening, governing board, President Dr. Shaw, governing board members, Dr. Trujillo, superintendent, and legal counsel. So, I'm bringing to you today. Oh, it was up there, but it's not. I'll start with the first group, which is the non-bargaining and SLT members. So I'm bringing for your consideration this group for renewal of contracts today of SLT and non-bargaining employees. So this includes our exempt administrators and central leadership positions. It's the other attachment, Jean.
We're on item 7.12 right now. So
7.12, but you can stay up and do 7.13. So right now it's return to work.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm bringing the return to work teacher contracts, counselors, social workers, and second semester. So you approved earlier this spring the first round of TEA contracts. This is going to be, like Dr. Trujillo mentioned, the return to work group and any semester, second semester hires that we've made. So we submitted the list for you to review of about 150 contract renewals, and so we're just seeking your approval tonight of those.
Great, thank you. All right, I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Item moved by myself and seconded by Ms. Luna Rose. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item passes 4-0. Thank you. And then we move on to, you can say up there for item 7.13, approval of contracts for non-bargaining administrative employees and members of the superintendent's leadership team.
Right. So what I was saying earlier. So this group is our central leadership positions, SLT members, and so we have 34 contracts for your consideration tonight for approval. So tonight we're just seeking your approval so we can begin issuing those contracts for next year.
Great. All right, I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Moved by myself and seconded by Ms. Luna Rose.
Dr.
All
Shaw?
those, go ahead.
As I stated earlier in the meeting, you know, we are going through very troubled times in our district. There's a lot of need in the lower employee ranks, those who earn the least amount of money. There's a lot of need everywhere in our district, and I believe that we need to chop from the top, as I said earlier, so that we can redistribute the money where it is needed most. All of the people before us are fine people. They do good work. But as a governing board member, I would like to make sure that we are putting the money where it's needed most, whether that is funding staff so that they have a living wage, are able to pay for employee benefits, or maybe we can subsidize better benefits for our staff. And so I would like to cut positions that are furthest from the classroom, and to me, these are farthest from the classroom, and so I'll be voting no on this item.
All right, all those, go ahead, Mr. Romero.
I guess I understand what Ms. Shaw is mentioning. I don't know what options we kind of have to look at those types of things. As far as other, I guess, concerns that you have on there, is there anything in particular that you think we need to look at or address, or is this something that you think we should look at position by position to have discussion?
Good question. I mean, I certainly think there's some positions here that could be parceled out. However, at this moment, I feel like I just have to say no as a group. Is there any position that you're thinking of, Mr. Romero?
Well, I guess just to look at this, so it doesn't just kind of come and then we have to, because there may be something on here that we don't look at and vote as a whole no on here. Is this something as a board you feel we should be looking before this comes to us and being more of a say in these positions being put on here? Again, your comment comes to a surprise to me, but at the same time, we've had people talk about, mentioning cut from the top, and we hear that in a lot of, calls to the audience, how we're administration top heavy in a lot of people's view. I would just like to see if this is something that's a concern to you. I'm sure it's a concern to a lot of people. So I don't want to dismiss your concern, but I just also want to be able to be respectful of them and I guess of our district, how moving forward in the future, we can maybe look at those as a board so we can look at trimming the fat or consolidations and things of that nature. I don't think I have the right answer. I don't know if Rob Ross could give any guidance on protocol. I'm sure this hasn't happened before, but again, like I said, I know your concern is shared by many people in our community, so I want to give that respect.
For sure. I mean, I think,
in the future, maybe we can do that in an executive session. There's certainly some positions here that I think would be easier to cut or eliminate than others. However, everyone here has folks below them. And, the work must continue, of course. And so I think in the future, if we have an issue with a certain position or an employee, it would be great to have that conversation in executive session.
Mr. Ross, a quick question. Is it possible if we do have something as a board, if there's a particular person, to suggest or request that to be brought up in executive session? How does that work?
Mr. Romero, Ms. Shaw is correct. That would be the appropriate place to raise that. In addition to conversations one-on-one with the superintendent, just keep in mind also that some of the folks on the list here have, basically rights of timing for non-renewals. So when you have those discussions in the future, you may want to have them
prior to tonight.
Yes.
Go ahead, Dr. Trio.
Every board has the right to bring forward concerns at any time. But every superintendent also has a responsibility to remind the board of where it's been procedurally. We spent a couple of months going department by department through a very painful season of administrative downsizing. We heard chop from the top, but I could barely cut the 5th regional assistant superintendent because that was a 3-2 vote. So it's chop from the top, but it's vote to keep the 5th regional assistant superintendent. So we went department by department, and we heard department by department recommendations for cuts. That ended up to be a $10 million package, close to $10 million once we probably factor in the vacancy savings. What we also saw is that when we did eliminate vacant positions largely, we also had concerns from other employees saying that their workload doubled or that they were going to have increased amounts of work. Throughout that season, pretty much every administrator knew that administrative positions were going to be an open discussion. So they were always open. They were open that whole season. I think it's always important to note that this list encompasses DSEG-funded administrators. So if you cut there, that's a desegregation cut. So we have to talk about that. Some of these administrators in non-bargaining unit, they're self-funded. So you look at the food services director, they're self-funded from food service revenue. You look at our director for pre-K in community schools, she's self-funded from tuition. So they also have like different funding sources that are at play that we can certainly have those discussions as we're doing budget cuts overall.
Dr. Shaw.
Go ahead, Ms. Luna Rose.
Oh, that was me.
You raise your hand too.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Thanks for that information, Dr. Trujillo. I think it would be really helpful to the board to have that information per each employee of where it's going to go, and like what funding source they're paid from, whether it's grant, DSEG, or otherwise. And this item didn't really have a budget number listed on it. I know we had a community member who said it was $5.5 million for these employees. And so I'm gonna have to just take her word for it because it's not on the agenda. So that would be helpful for us as well. Mr. Ross, you said that these employees have like timing rights for their renewal of contract. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Not all of them do, Ms. Shaw, but some of them might. I haven't looked at every single contract, but if they're covered under certain employee non-bargaining, if they're licensed, for example, we may have to look at the timing of non-renewal, which would have been back
May
in
15th.
May. What, May 18th?
May 15th for
Yeah.
some and April 15th
Yeah.
for others.
So as far back as April. So if the board is going to entertain that kind of discussion, my recommendation would be to have it, like Dr. Trujillo said at the time, the board was having discussions of budget cuts. That seems to be, then people get the right notice and such, and we don't have to worry about any contract issues there. So right now, it's basically executing the budget cut, what was left after the budget cuts, right, issuing these contracts. Those conversations can safely be made, so there's notification time if you do them prior to the middle of April.
Right. Moving forward, I would love to see, like, in future years, these lists come to us in executive session as a whole, so that we can review it, look at, the funding source, and then discuss it privately as a group.
Go ahead, Ms. Rose.
Thank you, Dr. Shaw. I just want to remind my colleagues that, if you don't pay people competitive rates, they will go somewhere else. And we're trying to raise this district to be a better district, and that's our job here. So, yes, we're all going through tough times, but eventually people are going to leave because they're not going to feel supported by the governing board or their supervisors. So, I understand of wanting to look at it, and we now have we just added somebody to admin as an internal auditor, which I have met Mr. Houston, and he's perfectly lovely, and I know he's going to do a good job, but I voted no simply for that fact that I didn't think we were at that point to do so. But now that we have him, we have an internal auditor that perhaps could look at that and maybe answer some questions. But I just feel that by doing so, all these people that are sitting here and all these people that we approve tonight are going to sit back and say, well, why am I here if you're not supporting me because I do the job? Because our job is it's not only to be good stewards of the district and the budget, but to also, I think sometimes we always lose fact of the children that we are serving, because that's my number one goal as a board member. So I will be happy to vote yes on the side.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate the sentiment, and I think we'd be hard pressed to find one person on this list who has two jobs, like our bus drivers and our custodians and teachers. So, that's where I'm coming from here. I know I love these people before us, and I know they do good work, but I'm trying to think holistically as a district how we can spread the wealth. And that's where I'm coming from tonight. Thank you.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Item passes 3-1. Next, we have 7.14, approval to procure goods and services for Q4. I believe these are bond projects. Yep, bond project party. Dr. Carter is coming up to the dais. Great. Dr. Trujillo, the floor is yours.
Dr. Carter, welcome back. We're certainly always excited to hear about the next slate of bond projects. Take it away.
Yes, to the Governing Board President, Dr. Shaw, and Governing Board members, I have before you some additional projects. The Bond Oversight Committee approved the project request and determined the priorities for implementation. The upcoming priority bond projects include the purchase of Saguaro High School summer renovations, the football field electrical and audio, and the Gridley Middle School stage curtains. This will require procurement of goods and services, which will need to be done in a timely manner to keep within the timeframes established by the bond program. Vendor quotes are currently being collected to begin work and place these orders. So let's take a look at, if you see on the screen, we have Saguaro. In each of the domestic water line schools, we're able to pick some projects that were on the bond that we could do while the school was shut down. And one of them is for Saguaro, the football field, electrical and audio. That's for $31,340. This will remove the electrical pads on the football field and pull back wire, provide necessary raceway for the audiovisual cabinet to be installed at the front of the bleachers. In addition, Gridley MS stage curtains is a priority for the bond because, one, it has been recommended by risk management based on the state of the current curtains, and it also has been flagged by the fire marshal. So I wanted to make sure I presented that item to you for your consideration. On the next sheet is pretty much similar and the same. It shows, if you could go to the next document, the detailed document. It shows, again, the amount of the $31,340 plus the Gridley curtains, which is $29,236 with the contingency equaling $72,691. So those two items, if we would support, we would like to motion to grant authority to the purchasing director in conjunction with me, the bond program manager, to procure goods and services using the approved TUSD and cooperative contracts for the next wave of projects for $72,691 for purchase exceeding the $250,000 limit. These are the projects I have for you. And this is getting close to the end for the summer.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. Governing Board, any questions? Go ahead, Mr. Romero.
Aloha, Dr. Carter.
Hi.
So I am grateful that you're bringing up the Gridley curtains on here. I was just there a few weeks back, and to say there are ill repair or ill and tagged by the fire marshal, I'm glad to see this happening. Now, as far as I've seen this, and you have too, and I commend you for visiting these schools on a one-to-one basis. I don't think enough people know that you are doing that, and you are being visible to these schools. So first of all, I want to make sure that you know that from me, that I see you doing the hard work, and all of your peers in this organization realize that you're taking this very seriously, and the principals appreciate that a lot. I've seen some other curtains in a lot of our schools, and I know we fixed those and replaced those. And I know we have some in our bond book that are doing that. In other ones that are coming on up, do we have a certain criteria of where they're at? Because I know you know some are in worse situations than others. Do we have kind of a plan for those moving forward, just because, again, it is an indoor thing that is a fire issue that could possibly happen?
When I first came on board, which has been a little bit over 2 years, there was a list that I had gotten from Miss, or a cumulative list between projects and Dr. Ashcraft of fine arts projects, including curtains, that were priorities. We initially, I think we've done 5 already, and then as I go out to sites, I found out about these. Also, another one that came up, as you might remember, we did Mission View this summer. So as I have talked to Dr. Ashcraft or mentioned to her, you know, I'd rather it come from fine arts, the priorities, because there are a lot of needs, obviously, in the district, including the curtains. And so I would say at this point, especially now this 2 years old, and you know the bond book was done about 3 years ago, to take another look so I can get a more refreshed list. And then that way we can have visibility on what might be needed, like moving forward. I haven't done a lot of curtains recently. When I found out about this, definitely wanted to make that a priority. But I think between Dr. Ashcraft, the old list we have, and risk management, those would be the ways we can find out in a broader way of how many schools that might need for us to step in based on safety.
Fantastic, thank you, and I'd like to move the item, please.
I'll second, because don't want the ones too slow to turn on their mics.
I have a question.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Shaw.
Thanks for your presentation. As far as the curtains that will be replaced and other things, are these items that, you know, gently used or like really messed up, do those all go to auction? Like community theaters may want to utilize them, or like do the old curtains just go straight to the dumpster?
Well, I would say this, the curtains that I'm replacing are not reusable. They are flagged as being a hazard. Oh, wow. So those are not the ones that we're dealing with right now. It's the ones that really need to be because one of the things with the bond, you don't do repairs, so I can't go back and have them do the fire retard and all that stuff. So these curtains, you're not going to want to use somewhere else.
I see. Okay, thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes 4-0. Thank you, Dr. Carter. All right, we're on to study action. We have a first read for a policy revision, 8.1, AI use in education. Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, board members, governing board policy IJND does require an annual review. That was a condition that you set when you first approved this. So our senior director for Ed Tech, Educational Technology, Tracy Metcalf, is here to walk us through the recommended first year revisions. Tracy?
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Dr. Shaw, governing board members Dr. Trujillo, and all the people watching us online, in person, and later on the recording. My name is Tracy Metcalf, and I am here tonight with Chris Anderson, Jules O'Haron, Robbie Hamadi, Rob Ross, Anna Schwartz-Warmbrandt to speak about the TUSD Artificial Intelligence Policy. Almost exactly 1 year ago tonight, the governing board approved an AI policy for TUSD and included a stipulation for a yearly review of the policy, which is why I am here tonight. Last year, we were the first school district in southern Arizona to adopt an AI policy. And since that time, we've been presenting at conferences and meeting with other school districts around the state. And what has made our policy distinctive is that our policy covers the use of AI not just by students, but also by teachers, administrators, and district level staff. And our policy is even be serving as a model for other districts. Oh, there we go. My agenda is I'm going to be talking briefly about the current use of AI in the district. We'll be talking about the 3 proposed revisions to the AI policy that I would like to propose, and then our next steps. So a key priority has been to continue upskilling our TUSD workforce. The Education Technology Department and the Curriculum and Instruction Department is committed to providing high-quality training opportunities for teachers, staff, and district-level personnel to ensure they are equipped to effectively and responsibly integrate AI into their work and support student learning. We have differentiated our trainings to meet the changing needs of our teachers and staff. We have also provided a comprehensive SharePoint site for our teachers to provide them with sample syllabus language. And we have also included a stoplight visual, which is provided by AI for Learning. And this visual is being used by many schools and other school districts to provide a familiar and conventional image regarding the use of AI in classrooms. To ensure academic rigor, our policy is anchored in teacher autonomy. Our policy establishes a default off stance, meaning student AI use is prohibited unless explicitly authorized by the educator. This protects instructional leadership, ensuring the teacher, not the technology, dictates the learning environment. Our current AI implementation is defined by purposeful educator-led integration. By utilizing only district-approved platforms, teachers are creating personalized learning experiences that are directly linked to TUSD curriculum and learning standards. Central to this work is modeling ethical behavior. Teachers have been guiding students in identifying AI and using it responsibly, preparing them for how these tools function in the professional community. To ensure a safe environment, we prioritize platforms with built-in monitoring and oversight, giving teachers visibility into student work. And ultimately, we are ensuring that all students, regardless of their learning style, develop the college and career-ready skills necessary for a digital workforce. Currently, the AI Application Review Committee has approved 4 AI online platforms which are currently available for high school use, high school teachers and their students. CodeHS is a comprehensive computer science platform to support specialized technical instruction. It provides a secure web-based environment where students learn to write, test, and debug code. Canva is a graphic creativity and design platform that allows students to demonstrate learning using built-in AI tools to assist rather than to replace the creative process. Magic School is an educator support platform designed to streamline instructional planning. It provides teachers with AI-assisted tools for lesson planning, activity creation, and differentiated instruction, which they can use with their students. It's been purchased by our CTE department, and its use by students is available only to those in our CTE classes. And then finally, this governing board approved the use of Conmigo a few months ago, which is an AI-powered teaching assistant and student tutoring platform. So the AI Policy Committee would like to propose 3 policy revisions for your consideration for the current AI policy, and I will explain each one for you in more detail. And the proposal before you is for a first read. So we are proposing an expansion of our formal definition of artificial intelligence because AI technology has moved beyond text generation. While our current policy reflects AI as a digital assistant, the landscape is rapidly shifting towards other subgenres of generative AI, including agentic AI, which are systems capable of planning and executing multi-step actions across different platforms. By expanding this definition, we are modernizing our governance to stay ahead of the curve. This ensures that as AI capabilities change, our oversight remains relevant and our guardrails remain firm. Our district remains proactive in managing both the risks and opportunities of artificial intelligence. So this is the first change that I am asking for. The second one I'm asking for is to propose a secondary access expansion to ensure our middle school students are afforded the same foundational opportunities as our high schoolers. This request is coming from 8th grade algebra teachers that have asked for their students to be able to use Conmigo as their classes mirror high school algebra classes. Middle school computer skills teachers have asked for the opportunity to teach coding and web design. So this is not a top-down mandate, it is a direct response to our educators who see an immediate need for tools like CodeHS, Conmigo, and Canva to maintain instructional parity and foster essential computer-related skills. By expanding access to grades 6 through 12, we are not providing shortcuts, but rather providing educational opportunities for our middle school students in a controlled, age-appropriate environment. So to ensure the highest safety standards, this expansion is built on what's called a walled garden approach. Unlike the open web AI available to the public, these platforms are education-specific versions, follow strict FERPA and COPA compliance to ensure student data privacy. But teacher oversight is our primary safeguard. The teacher acts as the essential filter, dictating how, when, and if these tools are to be used, are available. This balanced framework ensures that our middle school expansion is safe, monitored, and aligned with our policy. And then finally, we are proposing a policy revision regarding what we are calling embedded AI, which acknowledges the technical reality that AI is now inherent and non-removable within some core productivity suites and search platforms. We do have a robust web security umbrella that allows us to block unauthorized tools, such as AI mode in Chrome's search engine. We are constantly adapting to this rapidly changing online environment. However, we have to acknowledge the technical reality that in certain productivity suites and search engines, AI is inherent and non-removable feature. However, this expansion is most critical in its support for exceptional education. For our students with speech difficulties, including those as young as 5, AI-powered augmented and alternative communication, they call it AAC, such as eye gaze technology and speech generation apps, is providing these students and helping them with being able to fully express themselves. These AI models grow along with the user, learning their personal communication styles to make expression feel natural and equitable. But our pedagogical goal remains clear. These integrated features supplement rather than replace original student thought and educator-led instruction. From a governance reality standpoint, we are clarifying that the presence of these inherent tools is not a violation of the policy. However, students must remain responsible for their ethical application, and any misuse of these integrated features will continue to be addressed by the Student Code of Conduct. So our next steps as we move forward is to continuous upskill the TUSD workforce through high quality training and the provision of curated AI resources for staff. Our AI review committee will maintain our rigorous vetting process to approve or disapprove of platforms for student use, ensuring every tool meets our established standard. Our true priority is shifting towards the students themselves, and we are going to finalize and update a digital citizens curriculum, and we're moving beyond the question of if students are using AI to cheat, to teaching our students how to use AI ethically and responsibly in this rapidly changing landscape. Our mission is also to ensure TUSD students can not only navigate and identify AI, but leverage it to be truly college and career ready. We are not just adopting new technology, we are empowering our students to be informed and responsible members in a rapidly changing world. So I'm here with those 3 proposed changes to our AI policy for a first read, and then we would go to public comment and come back based on that. I'm prepared for any questions that you may have.
Diligent to work. All right, go ahead, Ms. Luna. Thank you for the presentation this evening. I really appreciate not just jumping to the changes, but actually having that really good description of what the committee has come up with and why we were making those changes. Go ahead, Ms. Luna Rose.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. So I do appreciate the changes because I've been approached from several parents asking, how is AI, the district going to work with, because we can't escape it. Mm-hmm. So how are we bringing this head on? So is this, I see that, this is addressed in the Student Code of Conduct, right, Ms. Warbrand? Sorry.
Yes,
Can I bring her up?
Yes, that's why she's here.
Can you explain to those maybe right now, just brief overview of what exactly does it look like right now for students concerning AI in the Student Code of Conduct?
So within the Student Code of Conduct, we have a level 3 violation that talks about misuse of technology and networking. And so that particular level 3 violation, which carries with it exclusion, ISI, OSS, has been what we've utilized in instances where there have been issues, but it typically partners with the behavior that the misuse creates. So yes, there are instances sometimes where a kid is doing something they shouldn't be doing, and there's no implication whatever except to their own loss of learning. But more often than not, what they're doing on the computer leads to a secondary violation, like cheating, like plagiarism, like bullying. Sometimes there's sexual offenses. So we have within the Code of Conduct all of these different violations that could happen in person, via social media, via anything in the telecommunication area, which would cover AI. And so it's not often that you just see a plain telecommunication or network misuse. If that happens, it's because they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, and the content is not offensive and it hurts no one. So it happens occasionally, but mostly it partners with whatever the action is. That's the secondary violation that's covered within the code.
Okay. So do you feel comfortable with these changes as we put these out for a first read?
I do. I've been on the committee since it started, and Michael Arnoff is also on the committee as well. And so we definitely, as we look at JK policies and as we look at the Code of Conduct and we look at the revisions in the code, and I take back my knowledge from this committee to our district stakeholders on the district behavior management team, and then come back to the AI committee. We have that rotating conversation. I don't feel that in our disciplinary actions that we've missed students misusing AI, and there's been no way to consequence them, not at all. We have that level 3 violation. right
Okay.
there in the code.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Shaw. Thank you for the presentation. I agree with Dr. Shaw. It was really helpful to conceptualize the policy. So while I do support the use of AI for our exit students who need assistive technology to communicate as well, I support the digital citizenship curriculum. Hopefully that will be taught by our librarians sometime in the future. Do you have an idea of who will be teaching that in the event that our librarians don't?
I really think it's going to depend on the age and also on the school. I know we've had many social studies based teachers that are teaching it, as you know, a lot of teachers are using it because it is so relevant and current that they're making it part of their daily lessons because it is so applicable for them. So I know a lot of government teachers are using it, English teachers are using it, so it's computer science teachers, and I think that's a wonderful idea to look at librarians as well. And I was listening very intently to the call to the audience today about that.
Yeah, I'm glad they mentioned it because it's been a while since I've looked at that policy, so I wasn't completely aware that it is totally in their purview. So it'd be nice if it was kind of a team effort as well. And so while I do support the fact that we have a policy regarding the use of AI by students and staff, and I do appreciate the revisions that we have here today. Philosophically, I'm still against the use of AI by students and staff. I think students have ample opportunity to self-educate outside of the classroom, and I really think it's a slippery slope for everyone and anyone. And I would like to see just the traditional education used within our schools. So I will be voting no on this policy because I don't think it's, strict enough. I'd rather have like no AI than AI. But I wanted to talk real quick about something that was brought to my attention by a parent recently, and I believe I reached out to you about it. And if you could just kind of give me the information if it's like okay in our policy or not. So a parent said that in her child's yearbook, I believe it's elementary school, the use of generative AI was used for a classroom photo. She said she thought it was a photo because her daughter had features seemingly from like her hair color basically was shown up in this generative AI photo. And so I noticed that, generative AI is pretty much prohibited for students. Can you talk about it being okay for staff, if it's okay? And let me pull up my notes. Because I know our policy reads that like personally identifiable information. I assume that would be a photograph.
It would include
if that is a violation of our policy, and if parents do need to be given consent if their child's likeness is put through a generative AI program.
I'm going to call it the cartoonization has become a very popular social media. You see it in people's social media all the time. PII, personalized and identifiable information, does include photographs. We do in our trainings remind teachers of the policy and remind people about not putting PII information into the AI tools. We are doing trainings tomorrow for our language acquisition team, and I directed my staff to include more detailed about what is PII and how it should not be included. And we will be sure to put this into all of our trainings going forward so that we're just really clear for people. I feel like our policy is very clear. You must vet your responses that you get from AI. You must look over this for staff. And that's what I think makes our AI policy so good. A lot of districts are only doing it for staff or for students. They're not doing a policy for staff. We'd have. So being more clear and upfront with our staff during our trainings to vet your responses, and number two, to not put PII into that, which includes pictures.
Okay. And I know we talked a bit about the consequence for students who violate our policy, and I know the policy is very new and staff are still learning, and it's ever-changing like technology. So can you talk about what happens when staff violate our policy?
I believe that if you can scroll down for me, Gina Maria, it does actually we do have a place in our policy that there can be a consequence for for staff and teachers who do not follow the policy. So we don't dictate what that would be. I would have to look at Mr. Ross for that, but it is in the AI policy.
Mr. Ross?
I'll just say that every employee group has due process rights. So you don't say that this violation makes this reprimand or reprimand two. The district follows progressive discipline after investigation and would implement appropriate consequences based on the employee bargaining unit, and also for due process, and also whatever the kind of equitable discipline is happening for similar consequences for other employees. So it's not going to be this violation equals this consequence. It's going to be the usual progressive discipline approach that the district has for employees.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I do appreciate your concerns, Ms. Shaw. I've been one railing against technology for a couple months now behind the scenes, and I brought it to our attention when that consent agenda item like a meeting or two ago, and appreciate hearing from all of us on the dais about our concerns about this as well. And I do want to say I'm going to support this and the revisions to this policy because we don't have a policy that means anyone can use any AI for anything. And so what this policy does is limits AI use. And without the policy, we have no limitation. And so I appreciate all the work that's going behind updating this policy to make sure that this is changing, like you said, constantly with different platforms and different how we're using AI. And so I think we need to keep this updated and keep on changing definitions, keep on changing what applications we are going to allow. Because we don't have a policy allowing some applications, that means any application is allowed. And so this is, I think, a regulation. This is a limitation as opposed to a free-for-all.
If I may.
Yeah.
I totally agree. We need a policy. I just feel that our policy should be more restrictive.
Right, well, you want to say something, Mr. Rimmer, or can I move the item?
So moving the bar from high school to middle school is also a concern. I think you had mentioned that math, in 8th grade, teachers in that algebra and things of that nature were kind of pushing towards that. Again, bringing the bar from high school, middle school, when does it go down to grade school? We keep moving that a little bit lower. So it's not a question, it's just more of a public concern of mine.
They're using it already, and we might as well teach them how to do it right. I mean, my middle schooler, now former middle schooler, I mean, every time she searches anything, she takes my phone and is like, let me search this up, and the first thing that comes up is the AI-generated responses, and it's ubiquitous. And either we have no policy, and then there's a free-for-all with everything, or we can have a regulated policy, expand it to middle school so they can have access to certain tools that are useful. Like and AI is like ubiquitous. Like every time I take the person out of my background on my family photo, that's AI generated. Like this is everywhere. And I think having a policy that teaches people how to use it correctly and regulates it, I think is better than not having any policy at all. And I am curious to see what the community, this is the first read only, this goes to the community like we always do and comes back in a July meeting with responses and comments from the community addressing these changes. So if this passes tonight, I'm curious to see what the community thinks about some of these changes. Right, with that, I'll move the item.
I'll second.
All right, item moved by myself and seconded by Ms. Luna Rose. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
All right, the item doesn't pass then.
Okay.
Because it needs a majority, right? So if it's a tie, it doesn't pass. All right. Item fails 2-2.
It's a status quo, so I'll turn it over procedurally to Mr. Ross. I don't think we have a failed vote. I think we just have a status. We have an impasse, and are we eligible procedurally to bring this back?
Well, that was a failed vote, but there's no bar to bringing an item back.
Okay. So we'll bring it back.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, next we have, last but not least, we have a 9.2 review process for naming TUSD facilities under Governing Board Policy FF.
Yes, I'd like to turn this over to our General Counsel, Rob Ross. We had a request a few governing board meetings ago just to review for the public what the process is if any community member, any community group, or any stakeholder wanted to initiate a process to rename a TUSD facility. We actually invoked part of that process a few weeks ago as one of the provisions of this policy is to allow the transfer of a previously approved governing board approved name of a facility to another facility. But we didn't get full on into the whole part of that process. So I've asked Mr. Ross to give a general overview of our policy here for the naming of TUSD facilities.
Thank you, Dr. Trujillo, and good evening, governing board members. I'm trying to do my impression of Mr. Aronoff since he actually was slated to do this a couple meetings ago. I'll just do a quick overview of the policy and the regulation for naming facilities. Help me, Gene. I guess Mario can do. Okay, so the policy FF and the regulation, I've kind of combined some of the concepts for these, but as is typical with most of your policies, the policy is pretty much high level, and then the regulation gets into the nitty-gritty details of implementation. So what can be named? Pretty much any of your property, all or parts of it. An entire school, other property, a section of a school. You've done this before with fields, with libraries, with additions to buildings can be named. So that's something I think you've all had experience with. It's happened half a dozen times in the last few years. Next slide, please. So the policy says what the board would like to see when you propose a name change or naming a new facility. And you see examples of this. We have significant geographic locations or items, Rincon, Saguaro, Catalina. Historical events. I'm not sure we have one of those in this district. I'm trying to think of a field that has, or a building that has a historical event, but for example, Centennial Hall could be an example of that. Events of community significance. Again, I can't think of an example that these are in your policy. And then worthy individuals who have made contributions to the district. And we have this policy that was brought up before that names from sold or closed facilities can be retired or reused for future buildings. You just did that with the new Morrow building. I'm trying to start a campaign of calling the new Morrow building, but it's not getting a lot of traction. People want to say 220 now instead of 1010. Next slide, please. So there is a preferred process, and the expectations that the board has for when you're going to nominate a name change. There should be wide publicity to the entire community, students, parents, staff, and other interested folks. And the board expects a community involvement with meetings, surveys, consultations, and other means of gathering community input. So the expectation is this is not just staff or one little group presenting to the board. This is a community effort. Next slide, please. So now we get into the nitty-gritty details and what the expectation is for a process. So the school principal, if it's a school, for example, will provide the process to this process to the superintendent. What are they going to do that community outreach? Who are they going to talk to? What meetings are they going to have? Then the next step is publicity, to make sure that you get input from the stakeholders in the community. Once you have that basis for public information, then you do a final nomination, which could be alternatives, right? You could say we could name it this or this, and then have opportunities for options. You submit that to the superintendent, and then there's this nomination process has to contain all that specific information. The name, what if it's named after a person, what is that nominee's contribution to the community, who is asking for the nomination to be made, and then kind of following up on what the process was to get that, the board would know what was the level of community involvement that brought this recommendation to the board. And then, as always, the nomination is presented to the governing board, who has final say in all of this. Next slide, please. So if you look at the overall structure of the policy and regulation, it's a transparent process. There's community input that is required and critical, and then the board has the final say. And of course, with any policy, the board can on its own, make its own naming decision if it wants to. But when it's, the expectation is, if it's coming to you from kind of a grassroots, this is the process that policy and the regulation sets forth before it gets to you for a vote. Okay, that's the quick overview of two policies that are kind of old, but they still seem to work.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Governing Board, any questions? Go ahead, Ms. Shaw.
Thank you for the presentation. And I do have new Morrow Center in my notes, so
oh, thank you.
One vote from me.
An M.
Yes. So, I'm glad that this is being reviewed tonight. I know the community has been calling for some of our schools to be renamed. That was a student project, of course, that came to the governing board about a year ago. And so I know our policy talks about a school principal outlining the process for nomination and submitting that plan to the superintendent for approval. But in the event that it's a student who has started the conversation and possibly wants to continue that conversation, what would you recommend? That they reach out to that principal, tell them their name, their idea, or so on and so forth? Like, does it have to officially come from the school principal? Because, I don't want to particularly burden a school principal with all of this work. Maybe they're not, for this plan. Like, do they have to be involved in such a way, or are they like a pass-through, or can we as governing board members help initiate the process if it's like youth-led?
So the policy does put, if it's the principal's building that's being suggested for a name change, the policy says that the principal is the one who runs that process. If it's, if there's community support for it, then that process will, that's the obligation of the principal. Let's create the process that's compliant with the policy before a recommendation is made to the board. So my first recommendation to someone coming forward doing that would be start with the principal. However, as I said at the end, there's always the ability for the board to act independently and say we're waiving the policy. That's always an option for the board because it's your policy, right? But my recommendation to anyone requesting this is start with the principal. They have an obligation under the policy to create a process, whether they personally agree with it or not. That's what the policy says.
I see. So, Dr. Shaw and I have had some conversations with the parents of those youth who have who came to the board a year ago, and it seems like they may be interested in continuing that conversation and really following through with renaming certain schools, particularly Sam Hughes and Miles, for the atrocities committed by those gentlemen. So. Yeah, I guess, Dr. Shaw, maybe we can reach out again and see what their interest is. I certainly hope our principals are open to the conversation. I know, it's another added duty for them. So, you know, if they don't want to support some of this work for whatever reason, then I would, as a governing board member, I'd like to have us do some of that work as well.
All right, thank you for the presentation this evening.
Thank you.
All right. Dr. Trio, our last item is future agenda items and meetings.
We will be busy with future meeting and agenda items coming up. June 9th, we're going to have revisions for the Code of Conduct. That'll be before you. I think Anna Warmbrand did mention, give a little bit of a preview of that. We also will have the override proposal for the funding of librarians. That will be available for governing board review and potential action coming up also. We will also see got some notes here. I'll have an update. By June 9th, we will have had our first formal community advisory committee meeting on the consolidation and possible reconfiguration of TUSD schools. That's going to be taking place on June 4th, so I'll be able to have an update as well as review committee composition on June 9th. And then speak of what we just talked about, we will have the formal request to transfer the existing name of the Summers building, known as Building B at Old 1010, transferring that name over to the second building at 220 West 6th. So we're hoping to have Deb Summers, Herb Summers' daughter, longtime Mansfield principal, in the house that night. So we'll be busy on June 9th.
Great, thank you, and good night, everyone, and enjoy your summer vacation. It started this week.
Oh, nice.